Ascension, and you have one location left in your cycle being spawn, and the box is currently at PhD Flopper. When the box moves, instead of waiting down PhD Flopper or attempting to trap somewhere and lose time after, you'll be able to run instantly to Spawn's box to hit it as fast as possible. How to find the current box cycle? You have to check what cycles are possible every time it moves. It's actually hard to explain because there are edge cases which can ruin everything. PhD, Speed, Mule, Stam, Clay, Power, Pap, Spawn. Spawn, Mule, Clay, PhD, Speed, Stam, Power, Pap. Spawn, Speed, Stam, PhD, Pap, Clay, Power, Mule. This is one of the worst cases possible. The first cycle ends with spawn and second starts with spawn. But as we know, it's impossible for a box to move to the spot it just left. So in that case, it will just skip and move to Mule. As a player, you will not understand immediately that the box skipped, so you must get used to it. It's even worse if you imagine the third cycle scenario where spawn is the starting box again, which would make any player think that spawn was actually the last box of the second cycle. You must keep all of this in mind while you're playing. As another example, spawn, Mule, Clay, PhD, Speed, Stam, Power, Pap. Spawn, Speed, Stam, PhD, Power, Clay, Mule. Then question marks. In this case, you can assume that Pap is the only location left in the cycle, but it's not that simple. Where the question marks are marked means it could be the Pack-a-Punch box in any of these spots, so you must not consider what seems to be the easy solution. Previous cycle ending with Pap means it can be Pap at the start of the next cycle and it skipped. And if it did, it can still be this scenario. Spawn, Mule, Clay, PhD, Speed, Stam, Power, Pap. Pap, Spawn, Speed, Stam, PhD, Power, Clay, Mule, Pack-a-Punch, etc. In that scenario, which is also the worst because you can't realize the cycle is written wrong until you reach the next cycles, the Pap location is the first or third cycle, even though it could seem like it was the last of the second cycle. In game, the box will act the exact same way with these cycles. You must not consider Pack-a-Punch to be the last location just because you wrote the cycles like that. You have to adapt your decision making to make sure you will lose the least amount of time possible while still making the most of the box cycle. I won't go into more details, but I'll let you imagine the worst scenarios of these types, and sometimes the box cycle can be so bad it's actually still hard to track it even after multiple cycles. Zetsubou no Shima despawn kills. These spawns by distance on Black Ops 3 are working a bit differently compared to other games, but they still should not count as kills. This is the case on every map except Zetsubou no Shima. For some reason, if a player keeps running around the map, he will actually be able to finish the round just by running. This is because of how spiders are considered by the game. Some enemies on Black Ops 3 are considered as vehicles. It's the case for Raps, Parasites, Valkyries, and Spiders. Raps, Parasites, and Valkyries seem to be accounted correctly and cannot be considered kills by the game. Spiders, however, are considered as vehicles, but they are not at all. That means there is no limit to the amount of spiders they can spawn simultaneously. But why is this useful? In No Power, you don't have AATs or anything that is able to kill zombies efficiently. So having this information actually lets you reach higher rounds without having to worry about a weapon that insta-kills. Broken Zombies Limit. On Black Ops 1 Shangri-La, sometimes players get the limit of zombies per horde reduced to 23 or sometimes even 22. This happened only in games where graphic content was enabled. So what is happening exactly? When playing in graphic content unreduced, which now will only happen when players are playing in co-op, you can turn zombies into crawlers. The problem is when you turn them into crawlers while they drop down from ceiling spawners. Zombies then turn into a semi-dead body and still rotates in your direction. When it bleeds out, it respawns. Until this point, everything may seem normal or almost normal, but when you start to horde up and kill the horde, you will not kill 24 zombies. This is a very important issue because when you reach higher rounds in co-op, that's the only point where you can realize if that bug happened or not. This actually happened twice in the 136 game that used to be the world record before the community realized one of the ceiling spawns was cancelled. This made hordes reach 22 zombies instead of 24. Not only does this force players to train more, but it also makes the game about 8% slower overall. So when you're playing Shangri-La co-op, you have to make sure you pay attention to these fake dead crawlers. This obviously can happen on any map, but since Shangri-La is the only map where this can happen due to explosives and killing zombies on their ceiling spawns, it's the map where it's most likely to happen. Zombies bleeding mechanic. Sometimes zombies will bleed without doing anything, they will randomly die. Depending on the game, this has different consequences and different ways to work. First, it is important to explain what triggers a zombie to bleed. I am not talking about respawners due to distance, but only zombies bleeding out. Every 30 seconds, 15 seconds on Mob of the Dead and Origins, each zombie will remember its current location and check for something else, as that zombie being at the same location 30 or 15 seconds ago. If it's the case, then the zombie will bleed out. Why is it important to know that? Well, there are 4 use cases. On World at War, this is used to speed up the rounds because zombies who are bleeding don't respawn and are also considered kills. This is mostly used in first rooms. On Black Ops 1 to make the last zombie respawn in a window. In co-op, it is used with the knowledge of player color priority. Since the zombie will chase the white player, if the blue player stays in front, the zombie will try to run at him forever and will end up bleeding at some point. This is useful to make him respawn at the window and take breaks. On every game, it is useful when you're holding a horde for a while, like on Knockdown Totem, Call of the Dead, or Ascension and Power, or even in first rooms since it takes a while to kill them. And on every game, it is used during trade-outs to make sure zombies are not despawning all at once, which would provoke respawns and potentially put the player in a bad situation. Often, people think that damaging zombies will prevent them from respawning, but it is not the case. This mechanic doesn't apply while a zombie is at the window breaching, except on World at War. Camera rotation limit and aim lag. High runs are known to be extremely long and repetitive, which means you'll probably spend a good part of your game doing these same movements and the same strategies. The best example of this is survival maps. When zombies have much more health, you need to trade your ray gun and shoot the zombies while moving the camera always in the same direction. If I mention this, it's because the game keeps all of this in memory. When you're doing a 360 on the right, the game will add 360 to a number kept in memory. When you're doing a 360 on the left, it will remove 360 from that number. Of course, it could just be added forever, but in programming, bugs are coming where you expect them the least. There are 2 issues with this. First is called aim lag. This happens because of how data is stored in memory. The total rotation since the beginning of the game is stored in a variable called a float. A float is what is used to store numbers with decimals, which is useful for rotations because if you move your mouse or your stick very slightly, you don't want to jump from a 0 to a 1 degree angle instantly. Aiming would be insanely imprecise. The issue is very weird and it requires you to understand how bits work, but it seems like each time the game needs an extra bit to store the entire part of rotations, the aim becomes more and more imprecise. For instance, between 1,048,576 and 2,097,152, the aim will register input up to 0.125. Then, until 4,194,303, the game will register input of 0.25 only. Past that number, the game will register inputs of 0.5 and finally inputs of 1. Aim lag has been an issue for some high-run games where players' aim was insanely imprecise the longer they were in the game, making insta-kill runs, for example, a pain. Second issue is aim lock. When you go too far or too low in rotations, the game will not be able to calculate rotations correctly anymore, locking your aim for the rest of the game. This is what happened to Chris Voltage in his Nuketown game. When this happens, you have no other choice than quitting. Or at least that's what we your aim. The game will is aim lock. When you go too far or too low in rotations, the game will not be able to calculate rotations correctly anymore, locking your aim for the rest of the game. This is what happened to Chris Voltage in his Nuketown game. When this happens, you have no other choice than quitting. Or at least that's what we thought. Multiple players like Issues have been able to counter these issues simply by doing what I will talk about. But why does aim lock happen? Again, this is related to another variable in the code, and that variable is the number of rotations made by the player. The aim lock happens at a very specific number, being 11,796,480, positive or negative. If you divide this number by 360, which is the full rotation around the point, you will get 32,768. Why is this number important? Because once again, it's equivalent to a programming limit, this time being the 16-bit signed integer limit. So, how do we fix this? The solution is to keep your total rotation as close as possible to 0. To do this, you have to make sure that any rotation done on the right, you also make that rotation at some point on the left too. Because if the first rotation will add 360, the second will remove 360. Players don't really have to keep track of this until they reach rounds where they need to aim, or if it's been a very long time they have been in the game. On Black Ops 1, a tool which tracks this rotation number exists. Usually, players will open it at some point just to know in which direction they need to rotate if they feel their aim is imprecise. When the direction is known, they just have to rotate whenever they have a bit of time until they get closer to 0. If your aim ever gets locked, you can still rotate in the opposite direction until it fixes it. But if that happens, you must be really careful about it and keep on rotating in the opposite direction to make it closer to 0. On Black Ops 3, it's also a bigger issue since if you start having aim lag in your direction, you cannot rotate in the opposite direction to fix it. Instead, you'll start having aim lag in the other direction as well. But rotating in the opposite direction to fix aim lag still works. This has been found for the first time by Silent Tifu in his Origins game. Dead Ops Arcade 3 Arcade Breaks. Deep at the bottom of the Dead Ops Arcade iceberg is the elephant in the room known as arcade breaks. The appearance of certain items on Dead Ops Arcade 3 are time-based. For example, the arcade machine pickup, often considered as the holy grail of items, typically appears every 65 minutes. This item guarantees the silverback slideways bonus area during the following round, which is typically one of the better bonus levels that you can encounter with several extra lives, armory and other loot available. Players eventually discover the bug related to the arcade item where the timer for its reappearance continues to tick even when the team is idle at the end of completed rounds. This bug allows players to wait at their own leisure and manipulate when and how often they get this bonus area to appear, allowing for easier clears for difficult arenas. Despite the existence of a pause button, especially one that functions perfectly well on solo, some high-round players have resorted to intentionally waiting at the end of rounds, like 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, in order to influence the timer of the drop and dictate their bonus rooms. Skipping drops in the cycle. I explained how the drop cycle worked and how some drops have conditions to spawn, like death machines and fire sales. We will interest ourselves in these two drops one last time. As I explained, a death machine can spawn if you buy quick revive or if power is on. For a fire sale, the box has to move at least once. However, there is another condition I did not mention. A death machine cannot spawn if one is already active, and a fire cell cannot spawn if one is already active as well. Let's take an example. If you kill a zombie and that zombie drops a death machine that you grab and it's the last drop of the cycle and the first drop of next cycle is also a death machine, that means if you get another drop while you hold the death machine in your hands, you will actually skip the death machine drop and go directly to the second drop of the cycle. Of course, this scenario has low chances to happen, but it can still happen and has to be considered. On a map like Black Ops 1 Ascension, you can get a fire cell as the last drop of the cycle and not pick it up, thinking it would be useless anyways since what you want is the max ammo. However, it would be a huge mistake if you imagine the max ammo being the fourth drop of the cycle and fire cell being in the first 3 drops. If you picked up the fire cell, maybe you would have been able to skip it and maybe you would have gotten your max ammo. Details are what make good games turn into insane games. Skipping drops is one of them. Less points with dual wield guns. On Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, if you shoot a dual wield gun with both guns at the same time, you will deal the right amount of damage, but you will only get points as if you shot one big bullet. This is another detail which can make a difference when you use a weapon like Mustang and Sally. A lot of players will have the bad habit to shoot both at the same time in Horde, which means that instead of making 480 points, they will only make 240 points. If you imagine this happening during an entire setup, this could also make a huge difference in terms of points. So make sure you're using both hands separately. Kino der Toten RunSkip. If you ever played Kino der Toten on Black Ops 1, you may have experienced a weird bug after turning on the power, or randomly sometimes, a RunSkip. The reason why I put this in the deepest layer is because of the actual explanations of it, which I have never seen anyone talk about. Kino der Toten was supposed to have another special run only made of Nova zombies, with half the amount of zombies. This run was supposed to happen every round, which are multiples of 3 and which are happening on the dog run. The player also had to be in the zone where Novas can spawn with power run. However, this has never been a thing, but this code remains somewhere and is still being used even though it's incomplete. In order to skip a run, the player has to be transitioning to a run that's a multiple of 3 and go from a zone where Novas can spawn, like Theater, to a zone where Novas cannot spawn, like MPL if Novas are not enabled. It has to be done in about 2 seconds, from the moment the number at the bottom left is starting to appear, to the moment the player gets his grenades, which is when zombies are supposed to spawn. We are left with a question though. A lot of people RunSkipped by turning power on. Why? Well, if you remember the conditions, I talked about power having to be on, which is the case, and the zone where Novas can spawn. The theater is considered to be a zone where Novas can spawn, however, their spawn are not enabled yet, so the game considers we did a transition to a room with no Nova spawns available, which makes the RunSkip. Back in the days, people thought that this happened randomly by going through too many spawn zones, which was part of the issue, but no one paid attention to the real conditions. Some games had RunSkips and it was a huge drama back in the days because of this. I will let you check every gameplays you can think of and rethink about this. Spawn rate is slower on World at War Knockdown Toten, Verrückt and Shinonuma. Yes, this is a thing, and it starts a lot slower. Base spawn delay, which is the delay between 2 zombies spawn on round 1, is 2 seconds on every map of zombies except 3 of them. Knockdown Toten, Verrückt and Shinonuma, all of them on World at War. The spawn delay starts at 3 seconds and is still multiplied by 0.95 each run, which means you don't reach the minimum spawn delay on 56, but on 63 actually. Shadows of Evil spawn rate in early rounds. I lied when I said 3 of them. Another map where the base spawn rate is also slower is Shadows of Evil. For some reason, whatever the amount of player is, the base spawn rate is 3.1 seconds for round 1 and 2.1 seconds for round 2, 3 and 4. Low ammo script error. Shinonuma and Darius World at War were known to err randomly sometimes without anyone knowing why it happened. The reason now has been found, and it actually seems because of the low ammo and no ammo voice lines. On Shinonuma, a strategy called the 2020 strat was used to play much faster than the regular Flogger strategy. However, that strategy relies on using the Wunderwaffe much more, and therefore getting close to low ammos more often. When you're playing for a long time, this leads to an error at some point. Darius is a bit different. Players tend to use wall guns to make points and reach low ammo as well to make the most of what they buy. Again, this would cause them to reach an error at some point. This knowledge would actually help players to reach never seen runs before on Shinonuma and Darius. Bleeding does not mean you're not on the map anymore. On Black Ops 1, there is a known bug about players bleeding while still being on the map in another way. You probably saw cases where dogs are getting stuck where all the players bled or jobs being taken randomly. Well, it goes even further than that. When the player who is in spectate mode add his character disappearing from the map in specific spots, it can bring some interesting behaviors. First one is traps. If you bled in a trap and the other players turn on the trap where your body was, you'll get the effects on the screen as if you were taking damage from the trap, meaning your body is still there strangely enough. Second one is Kino der Toten teleporter and Shangri-La minecart. If you bled in one of those and the other player turns it on, You will have all the effects going on, just like the trap. What's even funnier is when your partner ends the round after the teleporter has been taken, or the minecart has been started. In the teleporter's case, the game will consider it actually teleported you in the pack-a-punch room. However, when you respawn, you are not, which means you can play for a bit, but as soon as the game considers that you should get back from the pack-a-punch room, it will teleport you back to the first room. In the minecart's case, the same thing happens. The game thinks you actually took the minecart and you have all the camera shakes going on. When the minecart will reach the end, you'll get teleported to the waterfall. This sounds like funny stuff to know about, and it's the case, but I will come back later on to explain how it affects high runs. Speed cola is bad for barriers. Let me rephrase that. Speed cola isn't really bad for barriers, but it can make a difference. The reason is because of how fast the barrier comes on the window and how fast it becomes available for zombies to break it. When you press the button to rebuild the barrier takes a bit more time to reach the window when you do not have speed cola. But zombies get already stuck and wait for the barrier to become available to attack the window. Increasing reset on Shangri-La with Konami code. Shangri-La has monkeys in the spawn room at some predetermined spawns. You can kill them, but they will respawn each time you go in the MPL or in the PM63 zone from the underground, or when you go in the spawn room by using the geyser. They will also despawn when you go in the lower area of the map from the waterfall to the AK tunnel. The reason why I talk about this is because you can kill all these monkeys at any time from the first room by doing an Easter egg called the Konami code. This is a popular code, being the first cheat code in video games history, consisting of doing a couple of inputs with your controller: up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A. On Shangri-La, it seems like the code is different and is just up, up, down, A while you're standing. Why would it be useful to kill monkeys which are just there and do nothing? Each of these monkeys is an entity, meaning that if you do the Konami code to make them explode and completely remove them from the map, you can remove 4 entities and still be outside, meaning you'll get a longer reset. Of course, you would do that only when you're following the box location cycle and are about to trade. Moon reset longer in co-op. Moon is a very particular map in many aspects. The biggest change is the feature of PES and Hacker Device. I will only talk about what it changes in terms of reset time. When you hold nothing, you will get an extra entity for each PES airlock and an extra entity because the Hacker Device will also be on the map. If you hold the Hacker Device, obviously, it will not be on the map anymore and you will have -1 entity. If you hold the PES, you won't get an extra entity for each PES airlock anymore, so it will be -11 entities. Why is it important to know this? In solo, you will need the Hacker Device most of the time, so it doesn't matter much. In co-op though, each player has its own entity counter, meaning that the player with the PES will have his entity counter increasing slower than the player with the Hacker Device. So in co-op, to get the longest reset time possible, each player will need to hold the Hacker Device and the PES for the same amount of time. Moon has a reset time of about 76 to 77 hours, so in a 2-player co-op, each player would need to hold both for 38 hours, for an average of 5.5 entities removed for both players. Why would we have the same reset time as solo though? You would remove an average of 5 entities for the entire game, and also keep PES when both players sleep with only 1 zombie on the map, removing more entities than in solo. In solo, you would remove quick revive from the map and also play with reduced graphic content. So in theory, the amount of entities in solo and co-op are almost the same on average, meaning reset time would be almost the same and probably higher in co-op. No Man's Land insta-kill alarms. As you probably know, Moon No Man's Land was the first official challenge Treyarch released. The way it works is you have only a random perk, being Juggernaut or Speed Cola spawning, a Pack-a-Punch, and the M1911. The number of zombies being able to spawn before the first alarm is 10, while the number of zombies being able to spawn after the first alarm is 20. Keep these numbers in mind because they'll be useful. At this point, you know about insta-kill rounds, and you may have asked yourself, are insta-kill a thing in No Man's Land on Black Ops 1? And the answer is yes, they are. The conditions are a bit complicated though. First, Each alarm in No Man's Land is considered the same as a round increase. So on alarm number 162, the insta-kill alarms start. The pattern is the same as insta-kill rounds, but some conditions come into play. A zombie which was not insta-kill before will not become insta-kill when reaching an insta-kill alarm. It has to be a new zombie spawning. During the time span of an insta-kill alarm, every single zombie will be insta-kill. When the alarm rings again and you reach a non-insta-kill alarm, zombies will then have their normal health. But not all of them. If you remember, I mentioned something about the zombies limit being 10 and then 20 when the first alarm comes in. Well, if you had an entire horde spawning during an insta-kill alarm, 10 of them will remain insta-kill for the entire game, and 10 of them will have their normal health after the next regular alarm. The current No Man's Land records did not use this, as this would definitely break the purpose of the challenge. Since the insta-kill alarms start happening after about 54 minutes, it is completely possible for a regular No Man's Land game to have an insta-killable zombie killed. But until now, no game had this issue happening. Blinking power-up memory leak. A bug on Black Ops 1 led a few Call of the Dead games to end up crashing. When the power-up is blinking, the game has what is called memory leaks. A memory leak is memory allocated to an application but never given back when needed to be freed. Each time the power-up logo appears and disappears at the bottom of the screen, the game allocates memory for that but never gives it back to the console or PC. Since power-ups don't last for too long most of the time, this is not a problem. However, it becomes a problem if you take the scenario where the blinking can last a lot longer. When you hold the Wunderwaffe and have low ammo, the logo at the bottom of the screen will start blinking, making memory leaks. When this keeps happening, the game will crash. That happens only when you have zero ammo in reserve and the logo blinks faster the lower ammo you have in the last clip. This is why Call of the Dead players keep 2/1 ammo in the Wunderwaffe to avoid having this blinking. Shadows of Evil Junction Strat. Shadows of Evil main high round strategy always has been the one by the waterfront, but recently a new strategy has been discovered called the Junction Strat. This strategy involves a lot of knowledge to be able to run it, and also sacrifices getting the upgraded sword, since the unupgraded sword gets more kills and is faster. Zombies are coming from two spawn points, the window by the shop next to the spawn room and by the rail. By reaching some spots using the beast mode, you will be able to reach the junction side without opening the door from the spawn room. Now, a few things are required to know to be able to run the strategy. First, you need to know that there is a death barrier triggering when you reach the junction room and try to run towards the waterfront gate. To avoid this death barrier, you will have to go towards the door only on certain timings. The death barrier triggers only on specific moments, which you can see on the screen. That means that if you go towards the door out of these timings, you will be able to open it and run the strategy. Then, you need to make sure you're playing the strategy correctly to not get an error and play as fast as possible. You must avoid killing zombies with the squid gun by the rail to not error. You also need to stand with the unupgraded sword by the rail to kill zombies faster, and finally, stand by the L-car wall by to make wraps spawn, therefore killing them to make the game slightly faster. VR11 Windows Glitch. VR11's primary effect, and mainly used for high rounds in solo, is to turn zombies into humans. If you pack-a-punch the VR11 on top of adding the insta-kill effect if you shoot your partner, it adds another effect when you keep on shooting zombies at the window. Basically, what happens is when a zombie explodes at the window while breaking barriers, the game still considers there's a zombie at that window spot breaking down the barrier. By doing that with all three spots at the window, the other zombies fail to reach the window and just become bystanders without being able to reach the window. This hasn't been allowed by the community, as doing this in every window will result in the players becoming invincible and reaching higher rounds without even moving. You can stay in electric traps on Shinonuma on Black Ops 1. Most traps will kill you if you stay in them without moving. I say most because it is not the case for every trap. On Black Ops 1, some of the electric traps of Shinonuma are a bit weird. If you have Juggernog and stay in the trap and don't move, the trap will keep damaging you until your health is below 100 HP. After that, it will stop damaging you, letting you regenerate your health, which means you can get out of the trap. As soon as your character starts moving while you regenerate, you will go down. Gershes don't want it killed. This one is an edge case, but I would still talk about it because it already happened in someone's Moon High Rounds game. On Black Ops 1, Gershes are known to be extremely powerful since they one-hit kill zombies and attract them. However, they are not always one-hit kill. On certain rounds where zombies' health is very close to maximum value, like on round 162 for example, zombies will be damaged by the Gersh one time before getting damaged again and die. Actually, what happens is the Gersh is damaging the zombie enough for him to die from anything since the zombie's health is reduced to 1 HP, which means that if a zombie gets damaged by a Gersh but doesn't die from it, you can kill him with anything. The reason why I talk about this is because this can be an issue for Moon High rounds. In high rounds of Moon, you want to get only 1 drop per Gersh since the amount of power-ups you can get is limited to 8 each round. So you want to make the best use of your power-ups. If a Gersh damages a zombie, the zombie has a chance to drop a power-up even if you kill him with something that is not supposed to give drops, including zap guns, but not the wave gun. The reason for this is because when you shoot a projectile, it applies 1 point of damage first to tell the game that the projectile reached the zombie, which will be enough to kill him. It happened to Spirit back in the days in this old 208 world record Moon game. This is very unlikely to happen, but there is no way to be sure when you play zombies. If you ever get into Moon High rounds, make sure to be careful about that. Forcing special zombies on Shangri-La. On Shangri-La, there are 2 special zombies, the first one being the Napalm, the second one being the Shrieker. It is actually possible to force a chance for a given special zombie to spawn on the next round. What does forcing a chance mean? When you kill a special zombie, the game will randomize the next round that zombie will spawn on, either being the current round +1 or +2 if it's a Napalm, or +1, +2 and +3 if it's a Shrieker. If you kill the special zombie by using the baby gun, you will guarantee that the special zombie you killed will have a chance to spawn on the next round. But what is happening if both special zombies are supposed to come during the round? At the beginning of the round, each of these special zombies will generate a number between 25 and 75% of the zombie count of the current round, which is used to define when in the round that special zombie will spawn. When the zombie count in the round reaches the highest count calculated between both special zombies, that special zombie will spawn. Let's take an example. On round 100 you have 924 zombies, meaning that a special zombie can spawn between 231 and 693 zombies left. If Napalm's count is 450, and Shrieker's count is 610, the Shrieker will be the zombie selected by the game to spawn for this round. In high rounds, you can't really abuse this to make Shrieker spawn less often because the baby gun is the only weapon that can kill him. But during low rounds or insta-kill rounds, you can kill him with other weapons, forcing him to spawn later. For Napalm, if you want him to spawn more often, you have to shoot him with the baby gun and kill him. If you want him to spawn less often, you can simply run next to him, which will make him explode. Fire sales increase entities. Surprisingly, this isn't much known, which is why I'm putting it in this layer. Fire sales on every game except Black Ops 2 will increase entities during the time span of when it's active. On Black Ops 2, the entities actually stay on the map for the entire game. This isn't much of an issue on any map since you either do not have fire sales at all or simply don't get them because you don't move the box. Nuketown is the only map on which you can get a fire sale, pick it up and change your reset time. Since Nuketown has an insanely low amount of entities, picking up a fire sale will shorten your reset time by 7 to 8 hours, which means it's better to never pick it up. Locked area error. On Black Ops 2, it is possible to reach some zones without opening the doors, which would let casual players reach these zones. These zones are called locked zones. They are zones where the game will not trigger a death barrier, unlike Origins and the Mark II jump. There are 2 different types of locked zones. The first type is called soft locked zones. Zombies are spawning, but their pathing can be a bit bugged. Monkey bombs will not attract zombies, and if you get out of the zone, zombies will not always be able to reach you. The 2 cases where this can happen and the strategy is useful are transit bar, which you can reach by jumping from the bus using the Mark II, and Buried Saloon with the couch still there, which can be reached simply by falling in the room. The second type is called hard locked zones. The best example is Transit Top of Power. You can reach this zone by, again, doing a Mach 2 jump. The reason why I say it's hard locked is because the game considers the zone to be completely inaccessible. Bugged zombies spawn in, and it is not possible to pick up any part past the room in which you can build a power switch. When you are in the Avogadro zone, you will not be able to pick up any part. Even if you use the turbine to open the door to the power room, the game considers the zone is still locked because you did not open the door next to the AK-74U. It will let you pick up the parts next to the main power room zone though. The game does not kill you for reaching this zone. So why am I talking about these zones? A player named Okla did tests related to buried error and realized that opening the couch in the saloon room to run Trample Steam strategy was necessary to not error. Even though he reached round 234 and downed, some players did not believe in this theory and kept playing the same strategy with the couch closed. It has been the case with Blasterus 233 game. Due to what happened in Blasterus buried game, a player named Issues did some tests related to multiple errors on Black Ops 2. One of them being related to locked zones and buildable errors on Buried. To avoid crashing on Buried, players tried to run the Juggernaut strategy until late 220s and then switch to another strategy in Saloon using the Trample Steam, but they would still end up erroring. According to Issues tests and Okla 234 buried game, it seems like it was actually because of the couch still being on the map and players who stayed in the soft locked saloon zone. The reason for that is not only zombies being bugged, but also Leroy not being able to reach the player if he picks up candies or boozes, which most players will do to get a longer reset. On Transit and the bar room, it is also the case with the Avogadro who cannot reach the player. 255 has been reached on Buried since it was proven to be true. The tests Issues did prove that you would still error as long as you stay in the soft or outlock zone no matter what you do, while it has been able to get reset when the zone was unlocked. Transit error. This is the last time I will talk about errors on Black Ops 2 in this video. Since the release of Transit, there have always been errors when trying to reach high rounds. The reason has always been theorized, either the bus moving, the ground spawns, the jet gun, and so on. The most probable theory is actually how the bus works with players near it. A couple of players, Issues, Destroyer, Zero, Echoes, and Okla, decided to make very simple tests on Transit. The simplest one was to let the game open and see if it was even possible to reach reset being about 133 hours simply by waiting until reset with one zombie on the map. Surprisingly, it is possible, but only in certain zones. At the bus depot, you will error after 128 hours. At the diner, you will be able to reset, but only when standing next to the box, otherwise you will error at 92 hours. At the farm, you will error after 74 hours. At power, you will reach reset, but only if you are in the zone where you can build the electric trap. And finally, at town, you will error at 70 hours. On Transit, you also have extra zones which are not bus stops like the M16 tunnel and Knockdown Totem. In the M16 tunnel, you will get an error after 92 hours while you will be able to reset at Knockdown Totem. Another interesting thing, if you play with low graphics, you will be able to get a few extra hours before erroring. So after these simple tests, what can we tell? Actually, not much, but it brings some interesting questions. Is it because of the interactions of the bus with the different stations that you end up erroring, depending on where the player is standing? What would happen in zones where we got to reset if we played with the jet gun? A test would be needed, especially with the game going at normal speed, since killing zombies with the game in an increased timescale can cause the game to crash. Since Transit's record has always been pretty low due to errors, solving this would let players reach rounds never seen before on the map, especially with such a long reset time. But now here's the problem. A player attempted to run a game at Knockdown Totem and still ended up erroring, proving there's probably more to the error that we don't understand yet. Wait and see. Extra entities due to Pack-a-Punch. Town is a very simple map where you only have perks, a Pack-a-Punch, and 2 box locations. In theory, nothing should be weird, but sadly there's a problem. When you have the entire horde on the map, the number of entities should never be higher than 235 at the max. However, in some town games and with the help of the reset tracker of Black Ops 2, it has been noticed that the amount of entities was much higher than expected. According to Sluya's test, it is due to double pack-a-punching your weapons while the box moves. Every time you do this, this will add an extra entity. When you look at the only reset there has been with this bug being Blasterus and Jawad's game, you can actually see they add a reset happening 8 hours earlier, reaching up to 270 entities instead of 230, showing there's actually a huge room for improvement. Quick revive scam in co-op. On Black Ops 2, when playing Die Rise in co-op, you will play without power, so zombies will not get crushed by the elevator as we have seen in the third layer. To get your perks, you must kill all the jumping jacks without missing any shot, meaning you will end up getting every perk including Who's Who and Quick Revive. Now, let's say you want to take a break. You need the other player to quit the game and rejoin to not lose reset time. But when the other player rejoins and you go to the next round, your Quick Revive will be disabled. If you don't have Who's Who and you have the Tombstone perma perk when you go down, you will lose only Quick Revive. However, if you have Who's Who and revive yourself, you will lose Quick Revive. Well, actually you don't really lose it, because if you try to get Quick Revive back, you will not be able to get it. The only way to get it back is to take another down without Who's Who active. That means you will actually lose 3 perks instead of 2 with 2 downs. Special round skip. In certain situations, it is possible to kind of skip a special round. On World at War in Black Ops 1 The Reese, if you take the teleporter right before a potential dog round, it is possible to provoke dogs to be spawning sooner. And if you kill these dogs before the actual dog round starts, you will be able to get the max ammo and make it so the game considers the round to be over. You will still get all the dogs spawning. On Der Centrache, it also happens if you reach the Easter egg step that makes a lot of dogs spawn during a dog round. The first dog will drop the max ammo and make the dog round complete. On Zetsubu no Shima, if you finish a skull retroll during a spider round and that skull retroll is not the first, the round also auto-completes. FOV affects distance despawns. The field of view is known to bring a little advantage to players when it's higher, letting them see more around them. Another advantage is related to the despawn mechanic. Since one of the conditions is checking if the player is looking at zombies and basically sees them, it's taking the FOV into account. That means the higher the field of view, the easier it will be to prevent zombies from despawning. You will be able to be less precise about where you look, or even be able to run in certain spots instead of having to turn back. This is kind of useless to know, since in the real game players will not change their FOV, but still a good piece of information for players who play with lower or higher FOV. Scavenger power-ups. In some situations, players have been able to get power-ups with the scavenger. Most of the time it was during insta-kill power-ups past round 34, but it already happened that players would get drops with regular scavenger shots, even with reduced graphic content, meaning it wasn't due to headless zombies. So what is going on exactly? This is due to how the scavenger damages work. Well, no one really knows, but we can suppose that 2 separate types of damages are applied. The 10,000 base damages from the scavenger and the explosive damages. Zombies which are dying from the explosive damages seem to play a different animation, therefore dropping power-ups. Teddy perma-perk is a scam. The teddy bear perma-perk is known to appear after 5 hits and weapons grabbed from the box before round 10. But the question is, what does this perk actually do? It depends on the outcome of the previous hits and the map. First, let's talk about when the perma-perk is applied. When you hit the box for the first time, you are guaranteed to get a random weapon from a given list which changes depending on the map, meaning that you will not be able to get any other weapon than the ones which are in the given list. On the second hit, you will have 40% chance to get a completely random weapon and 60% chance to, again, get a random weapon from the given list. On the third hit, it depends on the outcome of the previous hit. If the previous hit was a completely random weapon which had 40% chance to happen, the next hit will be a random weapon of the given Teddy list. If the previous hit was a weapon from the Teddy list which had 60% chance to happen, then the box will give a completely random weapon. On the 4th hit, if the previous hit was a completely random weapon, then you will get a random weapon from the given list. If the previous hit was a weapon from the given list, then again, it will be split between the 60% chance of a random weapon from the given list and the 40% of a completely random weapon, and so on. If none of these made sense for you, it's not that important. What is important is which weapons are in the list generated by the Tiny Permaperk. On Buried, it is very interesting to have this permaperk because it contains the Paralyzer, the Monkey Bombs and the Ray Gun Mark II, which means you will have more chances to get the weapons useful for setup and high rounds. On Die Rise, it is interesting because the only weapon you really need in the box for high rounds is Monkey Bombs, which is in the Teddy Permaperk list. The Ray Gun Mark II is not in the list though. On Transit though, you want the Ray Gun Mark II to speed up the rounds, or if you want to play with no power. The Ray Gun Mark II is not in the list, so you don't want the Teddy Permaperk to be active if you're restarting for Mark II on Transit. The most important thing to know about this permaperk for high rounds is to not use it if you're playing Transit, which is confusing because you would be thinking that it would simply give you a better weapon and chance to get good weapons, but it is not exactly the case. Mob of the Dead Broken Lightning. You probably noticed, but on Mob of the Dead you will sometimes have some lightning happening. When you spend a lot of time in the game, the number of lightning will increase and sometimes make the game horrible to look at. Why does this happen? Each time you go in Afterlife mode, the game will increase the chances that lightning comes, which means each time you go down or trigger an Afterlife switch, you will make your game worse for your eyes. But to actually get this effect, you would have to keep on going down again and again. In high rounds, what is likely to happen is that you keep on switching very fast between locations where you cannot get lightnings and locations where you can get them. There are some locations on the map which will actually have no lightning at all. The laundry room, the generator's room, the code stairs, and the infirmary. When you go in these zones and you previously had an insane amount of lightning, it will actually fix this bug if you stay more than 10 seconds in there. I talked about this because this bug can make some people not play Mob of the Dead at all because of how horrible it feels to play it for your eyes when you've been playing for a long time. It even made some people quit their game, like Blasterez, because they didn't know how to fix this issue at the time. EMP Quick Revive Machine on survival maps. Removing Quick Revive is something players usually do to get when you've previously had 10 seconds in there. I talked about this because actually fix this bug if you stay more than 10 an insane amount of lightning. It will actually fix this bug if you stay more than 10 seconds in there. I talked about this because this bug can make some people not play Mob of the Dead at all because of how horrible it feels to play it for your eyes when you've been playing for a long time. It even made some people quit their game, like Blasterez, because they didn't know how to fix this issue at the time. EMP Quick Revive Machine on survival maps. Removing Quick Revive is something players usually do to get a longer reset time. On survival maps, when you can get EMPs though, it is not the case, not only because the game is very long, but also because it's completely useless. When players hit the box on survival maps, they either keep the horde behind them, or use an EMP to make the entire horde sleep so they can hit the box with no risk of having zombies killing them, except on Nuketown of course. EMPs can also disable perks, then they will re-enable again after a moment. Here is the issue. When you remove Quick Revive, you make the machine disappear. However, it is not entirely the case. When you use an EMP where the machine was, nothing happens, but after a moment, you will get entities back as if you did not remove Quick Revive, as well as the blue light of the perk machine. This is because the script that turns the machine back on still triggers. That means the advantage you had for reset time by disabling Quick Revive is gone, since these entities will remain on the map unless you keep on using EMP on the machine, which is not going to happen anyways. Moon No Man's Land spawn delay. We are back on Moon to talk about another bug, but a very useful one for once, for both Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3. You probably noticed that Moon is the only zombies map where you get 8 zombies on run 1 and zombies walking faster in the windows as if you were already on run 2. It's because it is actually the case, well, at least for zombie speed. It is not the case for zombies count past run 3 and it is not the case for zombies health too. Another thing, each time you go to No Man's Land, it will reduce spawn delay, as if you progressed by 2 rounds. This is actually very important to know because this means you don't have to think about avoiding going to No Man's Land at all costs to avoid useless trips. Instead, you want to go there multiple times, usually 3, to make spawns faster earlier. As an example, if you went to No Man's Land 3 times before run 6, you will actually get the spawn delay from run 13. The amount of time saved on both games is actually pretty huge, being about 4 minutes to 50 on Black Ops 1, when it's about 6 minutes on Black Ops 3. For that reason, the spawns have an offset of 1 run by default, meaning that by default, spawns are maxed on 55 instead of 56 in solo, for instance. Mob of the Dead Afterlife switches, increasing entities if you're getting away. I explained before how entities are replicated objects to other players, but of course there are weird cases. On Mob of the Dead, if a player is using an Afterlife switch, it won't increase entities, unless the player is not at range to activate the switch between the moment he pressed the action button and the moment it actually turns into Afterlife mode. This happens if the player is doing a jump and gets away from the switch range, or if zombies push him. This will add a permanent entity on the map. The reason is unknown, but you can actually have your number of entities increasing without knowing exactly why. To prevent this from happening, players will intentionally go down to go in Afterlife mode and make sure their setup is not ruined by getting an extra entity which will remain there for the entire game. G-spawn due to bleeding and game overs. I explained before how on Black Ops 1, when a player bleeds, the player is still there in another form, but I didn't explain why it's important for high rounds. On World at War maps of Black Ops 1, if a player gets a game over by running through an electric trap, he'll G-spawn. That doesn't sound like an issue, and at least in solo it is not, since there's not really a difference between losing your game by going down and losing your game by crashing. In co-op though, it is different. You won't always G-spawn if you or your partner goes through a trap and downs. It can happen, but it has a very small chance of happening, so small that it does not actually matter. So why is it important? Well, I mentioned earlier how a player bleeding out is still considered on the map. This becomes very important to know because of how a G-spawn triggers if a player is taking damages supposed to trigger a game over, or at least for that particular player. If a player who bled takes the effect of an electric trap in high rounds, this will trigger a G-spawn due to the trap inflicting damage to a player who already went down and cannot go in last stand. The game thinks that since that player is taking trap damage and cannot go into last stand, that's supposed to trigger a game over, which means on World at War maps, a G-spawn. The actual reason of G-spawn is unknown, but it is still very important to know. You must not suicide in the trap in co-op if you want to bleed to get monkeys back, as this can make you G-spawn. This reason was unexplained back in the days, and it happened to some Spanish players on Verrugged, and hopefully will not happen again. Slower spawns due to ping on Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 spawn rate is very weird in co-op. When a player in the game has a ping higher than 60, the spawn rate will become 50% slower. In the game code, the host player sends an acknowledgement to the other players in the game. They send the signal 5 times and need to receive this acknowledgement back all 5 times in a small amount of time. If failed, the spawn rate is like 50% slower the entire game. So essentially, you need players with very good ping for faster spawns. We are not 100% sure how it works yet. From what it seems, with 4 players and maybe 3 players, unless all players have great ping, you have slow spawns. There is a way around it though. A patch exists which can tell the game that all players have acknowledged the host immediately, thus giving the normal spawn rate. It's a huge problem because some players mathematically cannot even get close to some speedrun world record times. From what it seems, the ping needs to be below 60 for all players in the game. Instead of having the lowest spawn delay being 0.2 second, instead it will be 0.3 second, making it slower by 1 second every 10 zombies spawn. RNG is unfair. As we know, drops come in cycles, and these cycles are shuffled each time a new cycle starts. As it turns out, the way the cycle is shuffled is not a truly fair shuffle. When a map is first loaded, the game creates a cycle out of all the available drops on the map, including the ones that may not be active yet, and shuffles these, sometimes while manually forcing a specific drop to be last, like nukes on Shangri-La and Kinoder Totem. This new cycle is then shuffled with the array randomize function to create the next cycle. A player named Zobanator took a look at the code and noticed something was wrong. At first, it might seem like everything is fine here. Let's say we take the example of 2 drops in the cycle and brute force every possible outcome this randomizer can give us. We see that there are 4 outcomes, 2 where we get the drop A first and 2 where we get the drop B first, giving us a 50-50 chance for each order as you would expect. Things get weird when we look at cycles with 3 or more drops, however. This time, if we brute force every possibility, we see there isn't an equal chance every drop being first. 9 times it's drop A, 10 times it's drop B, and 8 times it's drop C, not 1/3 each. To be clear, I am not saying that the pseudo-random number generator is not fair. I am actually saying that even when that is perfectly fair, the shuffler is still unfair. As it turns out, anything with 3 drops or above is not fairly shuffled. Because of all of this, some events like thinking there was a 50% chance of getting a max in reality may be as low as X% or as high as Y%. This can be particularly useful when making decisions on maps like Call of the Dead and Origins, where timing max ammos on your weapons can have huge impacts on the game time. This function shows up in a few places other than drop cycles too. It's used to shuffle the box cycle and also which perk you get from perk bottles. So if anyone felt they were getting more of one perk than the other from Monkeys on Ascension, that's because you probably were. Unfortunately, this is not used for which box weapon you get, so for now we still can't get more wonder weapons from the box. AI nodes. Sometimes you will see zombies running into walls or have a very unexpected behavior depending on where the player is standing. This is because zombies are following the player depending on presets. It is not as simple as a pathfinding set to go to the player using the shortest distance. You have on the map what are called nodes. These nodes are beacons zombies must go through to reach the player. Though again, it is not that simple. I am not saying every zombie must go through the same nodes to reach the player. What I am saying is that zombies will use these nodes to be able to path to the player in case where it's not able to path directly in a straight line. This is often the case when zombies are together in a horde, which means they will tend to follow these nodes. Now I will talk about how the nodes are working. There are 2 types of links between nodes: blue links, which are simple links, and red links, which are often used for slopes. I will not talk about blue links since they are very simple and don't really need more of an explanation. Red links though are links which limit the amount of zombies being able to use it at the same time. This is very important to know, as these links will often be links which will provoke zombies to spread when they need to go through them to reach the player. Most of the time you don't really need to know about these nodes or how zombies will path, as it is pretty natural. But sometimes, in some edge cases, it can be useful to understand how zombies will path, like in Moon's One Windows room or in some dead ends on the Rugged. Broken drops with insta-kills. On Black Ops 3, there is a very strange bug which prevents you from getting power-ups when you kill zombies with bullet weapons during an insta-kill, but only on the Giant, Zetsubu no Shima, Revelations and Shangri-La. The only way to be able to get a drop using a bullet weapon is by letting a zombie hit you and then kill that zombie which slapped you before. Moon stole all the box hits. In layer 3, I talked about the box error. What if I told you Moon is responsible for half the box error for every single map of Black Ops 1? The explanation that I will give will be much simpler than it actually is, but it will probably be enough for everyone to understand. Basically, what happens is each time a player hits the box is waiting for two things that never happen: the weapon being grabbed, the box being hacked. Yes, the box is waiting to be hacked. That means since Moon came out and the code related to the hacker was added, it ruined every single map except Moon if you hack the box, and made the box error happen sooner. The box error still happens because even when the weapon is grabbed, it does not clean the thread related to waiting for the weapon being grabbed. Now, on Moon, a test was made to know what would be the box error if you hacked the box every time, and instead of being around 3800, the game errored after more than 7000 hits, proving Moon stole box hits to all the maps. The Gersh map. As you know, when you jump in a Gersh, you get teleported somewhere randomly on the map. What if I told you that it is not entirely random and that players are using these teleports to play faster? To be clear, yes, the choice of the Gersh teleport is random, but the locations where it can teleport you are not, and are based on where you are. Here's how it works, and I will explain the cases for both Ascension and Moon since they are the only two maps with Gershes. First of all, when you jump in a Gersh, you cannot teleport to the same zone, but a zone is not always defined the same way as spawns or doors. Again, it has its own way to work. As an example, on Ascension, when you open Stamina Up, you have two separate zones for Gershes: the corridor from the door to the trap and the Stamina Up zone itself. Then, when you jump in a Gersh, the game will choose between predetermined locations in a list. Each zone has between 1 and 4 locations where you can teleport to. That means you have more chances to teleport to some places than others. For instance, Ascension has 28 different locations when the entire map is open, and Moon has 30. Let's take an example. Let's say you are in Speedcola's zone on Ascension. That zone at Speedcola has 2 locations where you can teleport: close to the lander and close to Speedcola. If you throw a Gersh in the Speedcola zone, you can teleport to other locations, but not to the 2 locations which are in the Speedcola zone, and obviously not to an unopened area. Now you have the basics. I will talk about the edge cases and then I will explain the use cases for both maps. First, let's talk about Ascension. Ascension is cut between 14 zones: Centrifuge, which has 1 location; Top Centrifuge, 1 location; Claymores, 3 locations; Stamina Up, 2 locations; Stairs, 2 locations; Stamina Up Hallway, 2 locations; Speedcola, 2 locations; PhD, 3 locations; Mule Kick, 2 locations; Near Pack-a-Punch, 3 locations; Middle, 2 locations; Power, 2 locations; Juggernog, 2 locations; and Upper Power Building, 1 location. Now, you may have noticed I did not mention the Rocket Zone or the Pack-a-Punch area itself, and I will talk about the first case. Rocket Zone and Pack-a-Punch are considered different zones, but it has no location you can teleport to. That means you can teleport to all the other locations if you jump in a Gersh that was in Rocket or Pack-a-Punch room. Keep that in mind, I will come back on that later on. Another edge case: when you throw a Gersh in the zone I called Middle, you cannot teleport to the middle, but you can also not teleport to the Upper Power Building. However, strangely enough, if you throw a Gersh in the Upper Power Building, you can teleport anywhere on the map, including in the exact same room. So why is it useful to know how it works and edge cases on Ascension? Let's say you are at the end of your drop cycle, you're guaranteed to not have a max ammo, you know that you're about to trade the Thunder Gun, the box is at Stamina Up, and you have a last Gersh. If you throw it, kill zombies, and then jump in the Gersh, the probability that you end up a lot closer to Stamina Up is pretty high, meaning you will save the time you would have spent running all the way to the box. This is an example, but it can also be useful when coming back from Stamina Up after you got your Thunder Gun back. To sum it up, this is completely based on the situation, calculations, box cycle, drop cycle, or how far you are into the round. Now, remember when I talked about the Pack-a-Punch zone? The situation described before you throw your last Gersh and jump into it to hope ending in Stamina Up can be forced to happen even more if you throw the Gersh in the zone I call the Near Pack-a-Punch. Because that zone is very close to the Pack-a-Punch, you don't want to jump in the Gersh and end up very close to where you were a few seconds ago. You want to end up on the other side of the map. That's why it would also be more optimal to throw that last Gersh in that zone rather than the Pack-a-Punch or Rocket zone. Let's now talk about Moon. Moon is cut in 12 zones if you exclude No Man's Land itself, as it is not very useful to use Gershes there anyway. The one window room, 1 location, spawn room, 2 locations, outside spawn room, 2 locations, PM63, 2 locations, Stamina Up, 2 locations, MPL, 2 locations, second laboratories, 2 locations, M16, 3 locations, Power, 3 locations, AK-74U, 3 locations, first laboratories, 4 locations, and Biodome, 4 locations. Moon is a lot simpler when it comes to edge cases. You cannot teleport to the zone you are in, as mentioned previously. But how are airlocks managed? Well, it's very simple. They are not. If you're in an airlock and jump in a Gersh, you can end up anywhere on the map. There is another edge case close to the No Man's Land teleporter, where if you jump in a Gersh there, you can teleport anywhere on the map. So why is it useful for Moon? After all, you do not have to trade, or if you do, you still have to hack all the box locations. There are 2 use cases. The first one is after you get your 4th power up before going to No Man's Land, and you know that you will have to teleport to be able to finish the run anyway, and you have extra Gershes available. You will throw an extra Gersh, pick up the max ammo you just hacked, and jump in the Gersh, hoping you end up closer to the No Man's Land teleporter. The worst case would be to end up at Stamina Up, obviously, but overall, considering all the locations and the average time saved, it is still worth doing, even if you get teleported further. The second case is very rare, but can still be interesting. Let's say you hacked all the boxes on the previous round because you had to trade. Now you throw your 3rd Gersh and get no drop. If all zombies died and you still have time to jump into it, and the No Man's Land teleporter is open, you must do it. On average, you will save time by getting closer to the spawn room and being able to hit the box a bit faster than if you did the entire trip to the box from the one window room. The entire Gersh map for both Ascension and Moon is available in the description if you're interested. The secret to Call of the Dead 100. When I made this video, originally I was mentioning the run 100 on Call of the Dead being impossible due to box error, and this was proven multiple times to be impossible, but in January 2024 this changed. A player named AtmosCube found a mechanic that makes Call of the Dead 100 possible. This mechanic relies on making zombies bleed behind windows. In the code, there is a condition that checks if a zombie is ignoring the player. By ignoring the player, I mean either the zombie never chased the player or it never attacked the player. That means when a zombie spawns in the window, the first thing it wants to do is to reach the window to chase the player after. When there are more than 3 zombies in the window, the others are not able to hit the player, remove barriers, or do anything other than just wait behind. That means at some point the zombies behind, since they didn't break a barrier, chase the player, or hit the player, they will bleed, die, and count towards the kills in the round. Now, how do players exploit that for Call of the Dead? First, they need to find a spot where they can stand, rebuild the window, and guarantee the maximum amount of kills, which means guarantee the maximum amount of respawns in the window. The best spot for that is the cave, next to the MP5 with the boat to the first room closed. This makes the strategy 2 spawns in the windows with 2 slow ceiling spawns. I call them slow ceiling spawns because a zombie will take about 20 seconds to drop after it spawns. The strategy then relies on rebuilding the window again and again, and keep on using the VR11 and make most of them respawn inside the window. Since zombies at the top window will chase the human, you will actually have plenty of time before they come back or respawn due to distance, about 30 seconds actually. By using an entire VR11, unupgraded and then upgraded, you can kill an average of about 125 zombies, which is a lot compared to the base amount of 36 zombies. But since you need most zombies to be behind the barrier, you would think that this is doable only at the beginning of the round and then not doable anymore, since it is impossible to kill an entire horde instantly in high rounds. This is where the flinger despawn and the distance despawn mechanics come into play. When AtmosCube showed me this strategy, this is when I thought 100 was possible. When you use the flinger, this does must not kill any zombies since it simply makes them respawn with full life. But this is very important to take into account because you can abuse that to make every zombie respawn at once. Not only will you make every zombie despawn and force them to respawn at power, but you will be close to the Flinger, which is able to throw you directly at the PhD Flopper box next to the cave as found by LVs. Now, if you combine this to the distance despawn mechanic, you will be able to make zombies despawn again and force them all to respawn as if you kill an entire horde instantly at the cave. This strategy changed Call of the Dead, and after almost 13 years, after every single high-round zombie player, including me, thought that Call of the Dead 100 will never be reached due to box error, a strategy was discovered and showed we were wrong. Now, this brings another question though. Since this is possible on Call of the Dead, would that killing behind windows mechanic be useful on other maps? Well, yes, but it probably never will be used. The first thing that came to players' mind were first rooms. The problem is that if you allow this to be used in first rooms, the game will become very boring. Therefore, at the time I'm making this video, it probably will not be allowed by the first room community, because imagine a game in Moon's first room where you would do that, or 4 players on Shangola's first room. Yeah, pretty boring compared to what it is supposed to be. What about other challenges? For speedruns, obviously, it would be a waste of time. For new powers, this is probably impossible to use properly, and for other maps in high rounds, completely useless since this would make the maps way too slow anyway. It also has been thought that it would be used for farm in 3 or 4 players for instance, since you would stay in a certain spawn control, keep 3 windows closed, and kill zombies like that. However, since the game crashes at some point when players keep on rebuilding and getting attacked by the zombies through windows, it simply isn't a valid strategy on Black Ops 2. Therefore, this only brings issues on the legitimacy of Black Ops first rooms. Ghost spawns. On World at War in co-op, if players go down and bleed out, they're still considered on the map and count in the spawn zones. This is annoying as it forces players to play as if some spawn zones were always active for the rest of the round. Not only it applies until the end of the round, but it also applies on the next round. On the Risk, a fix consists on killing the last horde altogether at the end of the round to force the next round to start instantly. As seen previously, you must not do it if you have a chance to get a dog round after, because obviously you could trigger an infinite dog round, putting an end to the game. Darkness bug. On Black Ops 3, after a certain amount of time the game has been running, there is another bug that can happen on every map. At some point, some textures become completely black. It is known that it tends to be happening always at the same time, being accelerated based on FPS, and that time is also increasing while paused. The time needed to reach that bug is about 58 hours and 15 minutes. The value behind related to the amount of updates made by the game, which is 4,194,303. Depending on the map, the textures becoming black are not the same. For instance, on Shadows of Evil, it happens at the waterfront, from the gun machine all the way to the HVK. On The Giant, it happens from the power all the way to the mainframe teleporter at KN44. It also has been noticed on Dares and Raho, Zetsubu no Shima, Revelations, and Origins. On Revelations, it is possible to fix that by going to the spawn room, using the teleporter in Knockdown Totem, but it doesn't fix it for long and the colors become a bit weird. Now, something more interesting, when you reach 4 times the 58 hours and 15 minutes mark, being 233 hours, instead of having these zones being black, it will start flickering. The reason is unknown, but it seems to be something related to bits and image processing, probably in the game shaders. Forcing QED effect. On Moon, when you have to trade, you trade your Gershas against QEDs. If you don't need too many drops to end the round, you will use your QEDs when you get them to be able to get the drop and keep on hitting the box while you use the ammos you got from the horde killed with your QED. There's actually a trick that will make the explosion effect of a QED more likely to happen. The most common effects from QEDs are the explosion, the rotating weapons shooting in a circle, and random weapons. For that last effect, the game needs to spawn a power up for players to be able to pick it up. You can prevent that effect from happening by throwing the QED in a non-playable area, which means a window for instance. By throwing the QED inside the window, it almost guarantees the explosion effect to happen, which also makes the chances to get a power up higher. It is not always used as players found a way to throw QEDs in the first room. Wonder Fizz chances. I never really saw anyone talk about the Wonder Fizz probabilities and how it works in general, which is why I will talk about this in this layer. On every map except Origins and Dara Centralia, each perk in the Wonder Fizz has the same chance to be chosen. But on Origins for both Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, and Dara Centralia on Black Ops 3, for some reason, the randomization behind is completely broken. At the beginning of the game, the Wonder Fizz contains each perk once, which makes sense and means that in theory, there is an equal chance for every perk to be chosen. The problem comes each time a player hits the Wonder Fizz. Each time a perk is randomized, there is a 25% chance that one of the following perks gets added another time to the random list of perks on Origins. Double Tap, PhD Flopper on Black Ops 2, Widow's Wine on Black Ops 3, Deadshot, Mule Kick, and Electric Cherry. For Dara Centralia, the potentially added perks are Double Tap, Deadshot, Mule Kick, and Electric Cherry. Now you see it coming. Let's say you're playing Origins, you just went down, and the only missing perks you have are Electric Cherry and Quick Revive. If you hit the Wonder Fizz about 20 times, there is a 25% chance that Electric Cherry got added each time on these 20 hits. That means that the remaining perks available in the list are potentially up to 20 Electric Cherry and only one Quick Revive. This has the potential to get worse each time you hit the Wonder Fizz. Not only can it add perks you don't want and struggle to get with those wines. I probably forgot to add a few things either because they are irrelevant, not too important, or simply because I didn't know about it at the time I made this video. If there are very important topics I did not mention, I will either mention them in the description, the comments, or maybe in another video later on. Huge thanks to all the people who helped me with this video. It definitely would not have been possible without them. Even though I put the knowledge together, it's mostly the community's work. I will link their social media and YouTube and Twitch channels in the description.
Hello. It's been a little while. Let's play some Minecraft. I'm going to take a look at some old servers I found. These range from a few years to over a decade old, spanning across a ton of different updates. Let's not delay and get things started.
Like there's no spot on the map where spiders don't spawn, right? Like spiders spawn everywhere on the map.
This first one's called RunSafe and has apparently been up since 2011, according to this sign here. This is right around when the game itself actually released, so that's kinda cool. When I got on, I saw this message that I could only access it for 7 more days because the world was closed. I don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully it's still up, and this was just for maintenance or something. I went around the spawn, looking at all the signs posted around the place, and from one I found that they have their own Reddit page, but we'll wrap back to that later. So this one is Norwegian, based on the website, but everything within the server is in English, and it runs really well, so I'm guessing they just have a good host. Anyways, I went into the survival map, and it was just a war zone. Nothing interesting around at all. Absolute pandemonium for as far as I could see. So I went to check out the creative zone instead. This one's pretty unique because the server's old enough that a bunch of builds were super early 2010s, like this Nyan Cat and funny meme faces. Alright, cool. Oh my. Me again. Besides the old memes, this one had a fair amount of pretty nice looking builds that I'm assuming haven't really been thought about in like a decade by most of their creators. Over here was a pretty good Super Mario Bros. 1-1 recreation. Very cool. Also, I don't know how common these are nowadays, but this was just absolutely full of those classic I built my avatar at 100 times scale builds. Like they were everywhere on this one. I later went to take a peek at the minigame area, and it seems we had some pro spleef heads in this one, as this one Goomba had won 2,682 times. Overall, this is a decent one for the classic 2010s pop culture stuff, but we're not done here yet, as I had a little look-see at their other game stuff. And with this, I'm introducing a new segment called Looking at Old Websites, Chat Rooms, and Reddits for Interesting Things, or Laukrarfin. Rolls right off the tongue. We'll start with their Reddit, since it was directly advertised in a few places around the server. Right off the bat, there's only 2 posts recently, and that's a very light recently. One was just asking how old the map is, and one was simply a bump. After those 2, the next post was from over 5 years ago. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this isn't too surprising, because who's posting on the Reddit of a small Minecraft server years after its heyday? I went to posts from over half a decade back, and I don't really know how to put into words how it feels seeing people from 7 years ago be nostalgic for something that, while still around, is a shadow of its former self. There's also a decent number of posts on here that all go over how they long for the golden days of their childhoods in the server itself. People telling stories of logging back in after years of being away, finding out that old friends had become administrators on the server, or had disappeared without a trace. Stories of walking through their Hall of Fame and seeing familiar names that they had long forgotten. Others recount that, even in harsh times, they thought of the members of the server like family, wishing they could go back and relive it all. It was quite a read altogether, and I stopped once I reached the point where I was just seeing actual posts for when it was active. Now, but hold your goddamn horses. They also have a wiki. Now, I'll keep this part pretty short, because for the most part, the wiki is exactly what you would expect. It's just some info about the server, game modes, you know the drill. The thing I found pretty interesting here was that they have a page dedicated to the regular players. Now, this includes like full biographies, noteworthy stuff they've done in creative and survival, fun facts, and like some of these wiki pages are more detailed than some pages on actual historical figures. Lost his memory in a car accident at the age of 11. Jet Kuso was the community manager of the RunSafe Minecraft server until he disappeared. Distrusts literally every single person on the server. Resigned November 13th, 2014. We're going to France! We're going to France! We're going to France! We're going to France! Sorry for the lag here. I wanted to see everything I could. The server was very French and also very it was very How to Train Your Dragon themed for some reason. Also Medal of Honor and a few other very clashing themes. There was a lot to choose from here, but the first one I ended up going to was Campaign. So Campaign was their Medal of Honor FPS, but I'm assuming it needed more players because it wasn't starting anything really. An alternative here is I was just lagging out big time because I had a shit ton of ping. So I backed out of this one. I checked out their survival map because usually those are the most interesting, but this one was super restricted. You couldn't even open doors or gates or anything like that. So I couldn't really explore to the extent I would have liked to. I think I was stuck in some sort of spectator mode. From what I could tell though, this one had a solid amount of pretty cool builds. I just couldn't see them from closer than an outside view. I teleported to the creative area, and there were a ton of really cool builds. The French are solid architects. Again though, it seemed like someone on the server was a big fan of How to Train Your Dragon because it was all over the place. Overall though, this one was a bit too laggy to stay on for an extended period of time. And right when I was about to leave, I ended up lagging out anyways. This is a German one from way back in 2014. Their main board had a whole bunch of big German words I didn't understand, so I kind of skimmed through it. I think I got most of it. Password. Holy shit, that's a big word. I didn't know where to go in this one, so I just kind of kept walking past the spawn, and I stumbled across some absolutely insane builds right off the bat. Mark Paul Bahnhof. Rathaus. I like this one. Rathaus. I thought it would just be these three buildings as set pieces for the spawn, but it just keeps going. It's genuinely a good chunk of a city here, and all the builds, they hold the same high quality. It's insane. I'm not sure if it's based on anywhere specific, maybe Berlin. I found the railroad station in specific has a lot of similarities to a now demolished station from 1841, which is in Berlin. Whoever the builders were on the server, like props to you, because these builds are wonderful. Like this is stock Minecraft. No mods, no shaders, texture packs, anything like that. Even that, this looks fantastic. Oh, sick. This is like a little adventure hall. That's pretty cool. Hotel. It's the Creep Hotel. The Hotel Creep. Hotel Creep. I'm a big fan of the Creep Hotel. Grand Casino. Oh, let's go. Man, this is just like the movie Casino 1995. I tried to go into the free build by hopping onto the train, which it seems like that's what that was trying to tell me here with these signs. I think it's supposed to work, but it just didn't. So no free build, sadly. Instead, I kept looking around, and I could tell just by looking, there was definitely plenty more to this map. So check this one out. Overall, the builds on this one were very cool. Like really, really nice builds. Definitely check it out. The Adventurers Guild started in this big hub area, which for some reason was lagging like a lot. Before anyone starts talking smack about my computer in the comments, this is the only area in any of these servers that ran badly. Anyway, it had some shops scattered about, as if it's some kind of mall, as well as some teleports to other areas in the server. I started off by just heading into one of the survival zones. I moseyed about for a bit and decided to warp back to spawn, which it was definitely not the spawn hub from before. I decided that I might as well have a look around this area because it seemed like it was handcrafted rather than just a regular old survival map, and I'm glad I did because this ended up being really cool. Despite starting kind of bland with this long empty road, I eventually found a recreation of Hyrule Castle from Twilight Princess. I tried to basically cheat my way in by swimming through the moat. This backfired on me big time because this little shortcut ended up costing me more time than it saved, as there was no way in besides the main path, which I had to backtrack to. The town was kind of empty, with buildings seemingly just being shells, but the castle itself was pretty cool. Obviously I had to make my way up it to see what was at the top, and I found myself in a duel with the Zombie King. I didn't last very long, but this would not be the last time this bastard would see me. Since I was on Hyrule for a while, I swapped back over to Survival to give it another chance. I'm glad to say the revisit was worth it though, because there was some pretty interesting stuff scattered about. first thing that caught my eye almost instantly was what seemed to be a roller coaster in front of someone's house. And sure enough, it was that, dude. Like, it was a roller coaster in front of this guy's house. I went for a spin on it and decided to check out their house as well, since I was here. I took some food and supplies from inside, and it was only after this that I saw a sign outside asking for people not to steal. So I left a note back. If this was your house, sorry about that. As I was messing about on their horse, I noticed their sign was backwards, which said that the place belonged to Daniel and Miho. So, sorry for stealing your food, guys. After this, I set out to find more stuff, since I was now much better equipped to do so. I found this nice little house with this really wholesome sign saying, "This could be a house for a new player, at least for one night, or maybe forever. Please don't destroy it." I found this really sweet and innocent, but also kind of sad because this place clearly hadn't been used and had even been partially destroyed upstairs. There were a few more of these scattered around the area as well. Whoever was building them seemingly wanted to start up a little community that never came to be. If I hear that these have been destroyed, by the way, I will be real teed off, so please do not disappoint me. I spent a decent amount of time just looking around at these old abandoned homes and buildings, which sometimes had loot inside that I was going to use in my rematch with the Zombie King from earlier. Behind this big base here, I found the Uwu Memorial, which I'm assuming is for an in-game cat or dog or something like that. One other thing I was noticing in the survival was that a few places around the map had signs left by fellow virtual tourists, marking down when they had passed through. These ranged from quite recently to a couple of years old. It was mostly the same group of a handful of players. One building I found them in was simply called The House, which had another sign upstairs. Motherfuck. Now, I'm not directly accusing anyone here, but it seems like one of these players that took a little tour of the place also went on a bit of a griefing spree, because I don't think that it's a coincidence that every house with their signs in them was wrecked to shit in one way or another. They weren't completely destroyed, but a lot had some pretty heavy damage. At one point, I found a community chicken farm which said to leave at least 2. They left 1. This house here was using lay on all the signs, like it's 2010, like with lay storage and lay exit. After the French house, I teleported to another part of the survival zone, but this one was picked clean and griefed to hell, so I hopped off the survival part of the server. The next thing of note I found was it seemed to be a recreation of Hyrule from Ocarina of Time. It seemed like these guys were big fans of Zelda. I didn't stay on this one for very long. All I did was head into the Temple of Time, where apparently the Master Sword was taken away for cleaning. With all this adventuring, you may have forgotten that my ultimate goal here is to beat the Zombie King, which I was now more than equipped to do. I returned to the castle and clawed my way back to the top, challenging the king to an epic duel. It's over. I lagged out. It's over. It's over. I lagged out. Oh my god. I went to heaven after this and found Heaven's Gate. While I was up there, I had the realization that this is a literal version of one of those Christian Minecraft servers people joked about a few years ago. Although I don't know if swearing is against the rules on this one. So a few days had passed since my last login to this one, and I saw that 2 people were on, which I'd never seen previously in the server browser. So I figured I'd hop back on and see what they were up to. Unfortunately, the moment I joined was coincidentally the moment one of the 2 said goodbye, and their message said they'd be back in a year, and then they left. So I only had one guy to talk to in here. I had a nice talk with Mr. Epicman 3, albeit it was pretty brief. We had a small chat starting with how long he's been on the server. He told me he's somewhat of a regular, and that he's been on this for about 3 years. I followed it up asking if there was any particular reason he was playing on this old version of Minecraft. He responded that he simply enjoys playing old Minecraft sometimes. Fair enough. I agreed with him in chat, and that was the last message I sent. I waited for him to converse more, because I didn't want to pester him with a ton of questions. He didn't say anything else, and was seemingly just relaxing playing the game, so I let him be and logged off this one. Good news, gamers. We've got another a little installment of WoW Crawfit with this one. The Adventurers Guild website was made in 2007, and it certainly shows. The Minecraft forum on this site is pretty barren, but there was one post I found interesting from way back in 2013 with someone saying they would hop on the server once they had all the info. They were quickly given the info just a couple days later, and then 9 years passed, and the owner replied to the thread saying that they were still waiting for this person to arrive. I mean, you gotta at least, I guess, respect the patience. Anyways, that's really it. This the forum here only had like 3 posts for the Minecraft, and that was really the only one I found interesting. So we're gonna move on. So this bonus segment is going to be a bit of a sidestep. It's still the same thing, but I didn't want to leave modded Minecraft out of the video, as it's a pretty decent chunk of what people like to play. I hopped onto a modded client and chose a server called The War of the Ring. I chose this one for the modded section over something like Tekkit because everyone and their mother knows those mod packs. This one looked promising and obviously Lord of the Rings themed, so I had to give it a shot. Also, it just looked too cool to pass up. From the second I joined this one, I could tell this was a very intricate mod. It had me reading all kinds of guides and notes before I even took one step into the world. There were a ton of classes and subclasses, each with different gear, quests, starting locations, and from what I could tell, this was a gargantuan mod, and I hadn't even left spawn. I joined the iconic pirate faction as an evil man. Bad man, bad man, bad man, bad man. I spawned on this tiny little island, which looked to be about 0.1% of the mainland. Even then, this island was girthy. I walked around on it for a good few minutes before reaching the shore. Like, this was genuinely the biggest server I've ever seen. It's massive. But despite all this girth and complexity, there was one guy besides me on the server. That sucks, like big time. Like, this server is so big, so nice, so intricate. There's one guy. Where's all the people? This might be the chillest line I've ever seen. I like this line. I fast traveled onto the mainland and killed a bandit. By the way, check out this sick fast travel animation. But I wanted to try out something a little more unique, so I respawned and restarted everything as an orc. Once I was back in business, I orked around for a bit, and I decided my goal is going to be, I'm going to go chill at Mount Doom. That's what I'm going to do. That's my goal. This garbage fort is for fighting the Gondor invasion. Alright. I was pretty much sprinting directly towards Mount Doom for a solid like 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not exaggerating that. It genuinely is like 30 minutes of raw footage of me running towards Mount Doom. I found some cool orc towers and camps along the way. This camp here had a bunch of shit on the floor, as if there had been a massacre here recently. After, and I'm not exaggerating here, again, I'm not exaggerating, after around 30 minutes, I reached the border of the area that Mount Doom is located in. Not even the actual place, the zone it's located in. So after just waltzing into Sauron's chill zone, I checked out a couple of the big fellas, and I decided I would save a bit of time by just fast traveling to Mount Doom. Can I just fast travel to Mount Doom? I can. Why didn't they just do this in the movie? There were some wargs chilling around. These are an orc's best friend, so I tamed one and rode it to the top. Why is this here? Who built this? The gate to the place at the top was locked, so I went back down to see if there's anything else of note. While tumbling down the side of Mount Doom, I stumbled across this funny ring, so I tossed her into the lava. Problem solved, bud. This is another really old one, being from all the way back in 2012. It's seemingly still kinda, maybe a little itty-bitty bit active, as it got an update in May, but I've checked this one a bunch, and only one time did I ever see anyone playing on it. Lucky for me, this one had a language option, so I didn't have to blindly guess what it was saying this time. One of the first things I found was that this one had it had a marriage system. I didn't look into this very much, but I just found that pretty strange. I also agreed to handing over all of my data to them without reading a single thing. Next up was a quick little gambling addict arc. I did some scratch tickets for a bit and lost everything. After getting that out of my system, I had an actual look at what the server offered. First thing I did was go into the creative zone. Again, the Germans have solid builds, continuing their creative streak. This one didn't have survival from what I could tell, so I went back to spawn to check out their minigames, as that seems to be the server's main draw. I found it pretty odd that what's essentially a minigame server continues to be up and running with nobody around to actually play the minigames, my best bet here is that there's a small but dedicated group that still plays on this, likely including whoever owns the server, and I probably just missed them whenever I checked. I wanted to hop into a few of these minigames myself, but the lobby is as far as I could get. Seeing as these were really all that was left on this one, and that I couldn't access them, I hopped on the next server. This one's from 2019, but according to their website, it started development way back in 2015, which is kind of sad because just a couple of years later, and it's completely empty. It's another minigame server, with this one being purely minigames, no survival, creative, or anything like that. For some odd reason, this one had hats and skins, despite Minecraft having that for free. I guess these ones are special. Now with this one, I wanted to try and at least get into some of the minigame maps, but the problem here was every minigame, save for parkour, needed at least 4 people to start. So, I guess the lobbies look nice. There was also this villager named the Redeemer, which sounds pretty sick, but he just exchanged points for loot, so it was literal. Looking at this one more broadly, it's strange that some of these servers, which are purely minigames, are still up and running, even with like nobody on for weeks at a time. Like, for what reason would you ever hop onto one of these instead of a server with thousands of players? Even if you got 3 or 4 other people to hop on one of these with you, that's pretty much the bare minimum to get these minigames running. On top of that, it's running an old version of Minecraft, so it's just a head scratch to me. Like, who's this for? Who's playing these? This also isn't me trying to be like negative or anything. If anyone's an owner of one of these kinds of servers and has some insight into this, let me know. Like, who's this for? I genuinely want to know. I looked into this one further outside of the game and found a post made a year ago saying that it would be shutting down, but then they went back on that, so I don't know what's going on here. I assume they found a cheaper way to keep it running. Check this one out if you're a big fan of minigames, I guess. Moving on. This one was called The Big Dig, which sounded kind of funny, but it ended up being a Fallout RP server. I was still going to give it a look, so I tried to make a guy.
John, 54 years old, 5'2", 150 pounds.
It didn't work though, so I guess I messed something up. Awesome. What I realized after a little bit of looking around was you have to manually apply through their website to play on this one. Bye. No, I'm not doing that. This one was called No BS Hybrid Multi-World. I expected this one to get right down to business. No BS, just like it says. I went through this little rule queue and spawn, and the sign to agree to these rules just didn't work, so I was stuck. Kind of BS if you ask me. I had decided to at least check their website, and it had a live map, so here's what you missed out on, I guess. Cool. We've got a Finnish one here, and with some retroactive translating, it was apparently in spectator mode, so that's great. One thing I noticed that made this one a bit of an oddity was that somehow in a survival server, they managed to build a pretty dense town made by a bunch of different people. I guess starting new people off in spectator mode helps with that, but usually in survival servers, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and these would be griefed in some way. But surprisingly, it was completely intact, everything was fine. At one point I was looking at this big manor built solely to flex, and some Finnish guy joined for like 10 seconds, didn't say a word, and then left. He never came back. Could this be Finnish hero brand real? In general with this one, the more I explored, the more elaborate the buildings got. Well, it probably should have been the opposite. Like for instance, there was a whole separate community-made village, way out from spawn, that was even bigger and beefier than the last one. Buck nutty if you ask me.
This is nice. I like these fellas.
It took a solid 20 minutes in this one for me to find the first house with any damage on it, but this was also right around when I hopped off because I had seen a solid amount of this one, and I was kind of sick of being in spectator mode, to be honest. Next one up was a server called Crewcraft! I think the spawn on this one was randomized because I started on someone's house. I checked inside for some free shit, but it was empty. Nice looking place though. Right off the bat, I could see some pretty tall buildings in the distance, so I went to check those out. They were these weird sky pillar things that didn't really lead anywhere. Probably just someone getting rid of some blocks or messing around. In general, this server had infrequent, half-completed buildings and a few signs of life scattered about, but despite its age, the overworld was surprisingly intact. I only occasionally saw anything of note, like this hole with some cobblestone in it, or this building which had a non-functional nether portal in the basement. Usually in survival servers like this, the area around spawn is complete chaos and a totally demolished war zone for a few hundred blocks in any direction. This one was just a handful of buildings and then nothing at all. Everything was unprotected as well. Nothing was stopping me or anyone else from just breaking anything built in the server. Seemingly they had no commands either for some reason, so I don't know how this one wasn't griefed like at all. This isn't me telling you to do that, by the way, just an observation. I hopped off this one after exploring for a bit because it simply didn't have much to it. Moving on. This one is my favorite by a long shot. It's called Grig's Quest Adventureman, and it lives up to the name. This was a full-blown story server with all kinds of quests, skills, and lore. Just in spawn, you can get a good taste of what the server is all about, just from the signs. Right-click here to discover more about the world's bountiful lore. Solving Grig's quest means joining guilds is key. The more you join, the better off you'll be. Head down the chute. The descent is a hoot. When you get to the bottom, climb up to the top. The pickaxe quest should be your next stop. Turn and go to the immortal stone below. Just 5 minutes in, and this was already one of the most charming little servers I've ever been on. Probably the most charming, if I'm being honest. As for what was actually going on, I started with a simple quest to read lore around the spawn and then leave. And one of the first things I noticed was that the sky was ringed for some odd reason. Once I was out and about, things started off pretty slow. This is mainly due to me having to learn the ropes and reading through some of the lore. By the way, some of these lore books are like 60 pages long. It was honestly pretty overwhelming with just how much there was to do. Things were pretty tame for a while, as I just walked around doing some simple quests and joining guilds. It was posted all over that I would need to join 3 guilds in order to attempt to become an Air Lord. One of the guilds I could join was the Purchasers, by refilling these scattered cat food dishes. This would enlist my services to the leader, Butterscotch, the iconic cat. I ended up getting into the candlestick makers, the wheat farmers, and the cartographers to start, and this was enough to try my luck in becoming an heirloom. If you would become an heirloom, do the quest, ascend to the heights to prove you are best. If you ascend the protective rings, you will see so many things. At the top of the rings, you'll get a reward. No fall damage. You're an heirlord. So full transparency here, I have no idea what an Airlord is. It just sounds kinda cool, so of course I had to do it. Plus, no fall damage is nice. All I had to do was run these Airlord rings, as it said. I didn't know how long it would take, but it seemed relatively easy. So I underestimated the Airlord rings a bit. They were kind of taking a really goddamn long time to do, and I got a bit of reading in along the way. At one point, I literally passed by the spawn area, which was already super high up compared to anything else, but it also told me I was getting close. The rings were shrinking smaller and smaller as I continued on. Occasionally there were these rest points with some loot. These gave so much loot that I literally couldn't carry everything they tried to give me, so I had to toss a bunch of bullshit in my inventory to carry the cash. After about 30 minutes of running circles around the whole map, I reached the Airlord Peak. It had this fun little dummy animation at the top to celebrate, and as I said earlier, I no longer took fall damage. Pretty worth the effort in my book. Skipping forward a bit, after becoming an Airlord, I wanted to venture out and see what else awaited in the world. I left the protected area and saw some pretty sick shit in the distance. Pirate ships, temples, and other cool buildings, but I was blocked off from getting a closer look. These were either decorative or I wasn't beefy enough to get out there yet. I think I had to become not just an Air Lord, but probably a lord of everything before I could get out there. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have time for that, because it would have most likely taken a long time. I played on Grig's for a good while, and seemingly barely scratched the surface of it. To be honest, I'll probably get back on, because it was a pretty cool server. I'd highly recommend checking this one out and giving it some life. It had so much charm and heart put into it. After playing, I hopped onto the official Grig's Quest website they had linked. I found it odd that this seemed to also be a teacher's website, having syllabi for classes and some notes, along with some info on the Minecraft server, so it wasn't like a wrong link or something. I'm assuming this means that the teacher was the owner of the server, and that makes it even cooler, to be honest. This server is clearly made out of passion with a lot of heart and soul, not for monetization or anything. I'd assume it was made for his students. That's pretty awesome. Now, I didn't really know how to go about this part. I was debating even putting it in here, but I feel I have to mention it, so I'm going to try to keep it as brief and as respectful as I can. I tried searching for the owner of the site to maybe talk with him about it or potentially interview him, but sadly the first thing I found was that he passed away earlier this year. Obviously I didn't know him, so all I can say is I hope he rests well. It seems like he was a fun and creative person. With all this said, I really don't know if the server will remain up if he was the actual owner. It's possible someone else hosts it and manages it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I would hate to see it go. To close this one out, give Grig's Quest a try while it's still here. It's great. Let's continue. For another little bonus segment here, while I was making this, I had this urge to look for a few maps I remember playing on way back in the day. These are just a couple old iconic maps from like 10 plus years ago that I felt were interesting enough to look at. Back when people actually liked them, all the way back in 2011, a pretty iconic map was released called the Temple of Notch. Most people probably know it from this nearly 12-year-old video by FV Disco, who made the map by the way, which has close to 20 million views. It shows off a quick playthrough of the map and ends there. For the longest time I didn't know this was like an actual map you could download and play. I thought they just made it for the video, so this was my first ever time playing this one. I went through it normally to start. Everything worked as intended. I woke up, cried, yada yada, you know the drill if you've seen the video. I think these dispensers up here were supposed to drop these diamonds and stuff all over me, but they just didn't. No clue why. I went inside his skull to take a little peek at what was going on beneath the surface, and the whole thing is, as probably expected, pretty elaborate. I'm fairly certain this map came out before command blocks, so all this was done completely by hand with redstone. It might not be that impressive today, but for its time, it's pretty cool. Also, it's kind of dumb, but I doubt very many people have seen this giant chunk of land that's just missing a bit behind the temple, probably as a result of using World Edit or another program like that. Now this is one I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with if you played back in like 2012 to 2014. We're going to take a look at the OG Survival Games map, which was by so many people I'm just going to flash their names on screen. My friends and I used to play this one religiously back in the day when they were new, so I wanted to hop on and see what I missed and what I remember. I forgot that the spawn was just this bedrock chamber, which is a pretty big contrast to modern servers, some of which I looked at here. It had these giant, sprawling, intricate lobbies, which in comparison to this one are 1,000 times better. It's a throwback to simpler times. The first thing out of spawn I did was take a look at the loot in the center. I wasn't expecting anything because I thought this stuff was placed in here randomly by servers, but it was all preset items. I may just be misremembering this though, and that would make sense considering I haven't played this in a decade. I checked inside this tower, which had items in it for a host to add to the circle. I guess this is here specifically for groups of friends running custom games, or more likely for the time period. Tubers. I'm not going to be bringing up the subject of Minecraft tubers of this era, because that's a big mess of a lot of messed up people, so I'm sorry if you expect me to delve into that at all. After a bit of looking around, first real building I found was this silly little stone hut with this big secret underground part. It ended up trolling me, epic style, with this pressure plate drop. Next up was this super secret parkour room way out in the big drink, which had 2 apples and a music kit as loot. What the fuck? There was another secret area way out at the corner of the map, as well as being underground, that had some seeds as the loot. Why would you ever come out here if this is the loot you're getting? At this point I figured they just didn't expect anyone to actually come out this far, and to be honest, when I was younger, I always thought these far out islands were just set dressing. But this chest also on one of these islands had a bow in it, which is top tier loot compared to most things here. Another thing of note was that I received the iconic gift of Fluctus. What I was mainly noticing during this little excursion is that the map is way bigger than I remembered. I thought it would be like a decently sized island with some buildings on it, but there was so much stuff that I've never even seen. Countless traps, underground bases, hidden bunkers, the list goes on. Like there was this whole giant underground prison thing with parkour, redstone contraptions, and fucking lore in the survival games map. I flew around this one with free reign for a good while, and I guarantee there's still some more secrets that I never even found. This one was a blast for the past for me, and maybe only me, so I'm sorry if this section bored you, especially if you never played this. It's been around a decade since I've been on this one, so I had a great time just looking around. Now, I don't know how popular this game mode is anymore, or even if it still exists as it once did, but I had a blast just looking around at some old maps made for it. So many classic maps that I'm not even sure exist anymore. This one is called Games MC, and it has some people on every now and then, but it's decently old, so I wanted to give it a shot. Just to be clear, when I was on, the server was empty. Before even starting this one though, the title screen said Peter. Once I got into this one, it gave me some shit in German. I'm pretty sure this agreement here with the Datenschutzzirkelung means I agreed to be stalked, kidnapped, and cooked over a fire. I just clicked green because green is good, and it worked. I didn't know any commands obviously, so I just started walking around. He had these funny armor stand guys posted all around the place. I like this guy Sven. Bernd Werner Ziegler. What's going on, Gustav? They had this crypt graveyard thing around the back of a building. I didn't know what it was for. It had dates and names on it, so I assume it was for something. They sounded like the names of places with Sugar Islands and Red City, so I'd assume it's just places they nuked out of existence. I managed to get into the creative for this one. It was a bit more tame compared to the others. Nothing really of note. Some small scattered builds and a few nicer buildings. I also went into a teleport called Farm, which I think was the survival, but I'm not sure. The spawn seemed to be completely random, and it put me in the middle of absolutely nowhere, as I couldn't find a single speck of human life anywhere in this world, so I left it be. This one was a French server called Mad Incraft Survival. It's from way back in 2013, so we get another real oldie here. Right off the bat in spawn, we've got some signs in French. Now, my French is a little rusty, but I'm pretty sure this sign reads, "There is no 40th president. There is no 40th president. There is no 40." I went into the creative first here, and it seems that the French are big fans of beacons, apparently.
Got a big enough joint there, Rick?
For some reason, the survival map spawned me in creative mode, so I flew to spawn until it swapped me back into survival, and it nearly instantly killed me. Now, I actually couldn't tell if this was the real survival map because I couldn't do a single goddamn thing. I couldn't break blocks, eat, open doors, like nothing at all. I was basically just a walking camera. I'm assuming there was some agreement in French or something like that that I didn't do. Just the way she goes, I guess. Before I headed off, I had one last little look in the spawn area, and they had their leaderboards up where a couple fellas had over 70,000 mob kills. I went onto their website to check this because they had a leaderboard on there, and these guys had a lot of playtime on the server. Heading out properly this time, mobs didn't give a single shit about me, but at the same time, I couldn't do much to them either. I managed to get my hands on some meat, and I wasn't allowed to use pork. For some reason, despite everything else, not being able to break blocks, open doors, anything, really, I was, for some reason, allowed to just take shit from people's chests. Funny. Overall, from what I saw, the server has a fair amount of strange, nice, and well-crafted buildings that were mostly empty on the inside and abandoned, while still having protections. Some of these were really elaborate as well, a few giant castles and houses with full underground sections. I only wish I could get into a few of these places because they looked really cool, but since I was trapped outside, I moved on.
I've been sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. So here's a prison break Minecraft server.
Right out of the cell and spawn, this one looked like it was going to be a huge grind. Spoilers. It was absolutely a massive grind. Starting off, I had a look at the map, and I didn't want to waste any time, so I got right into the hard labor. Hard labor sucked, so I went back to looking around. They had some other jobs, shops, and cells. For some reason, in this prison, you had to rent a cell. It seems like in 2015, there was a big breakout attempt. Originally, I was going to leave it at that, but I did a little digging and CIA-level investigation and found an 8-year-old video with 100 views of the event in question. Sapling, you're not going to buy 64 wooden tools. Okay, fair enough. I didn't want to mine for money anymore, so I swapped to fishing. Big fan of fishing. Wishing I was fishing. This section was super cut down because at this point I'd been on for more than an hour and I barely made any money. Based on this, it would have taken me a few hours just to get to the next tier, and the freedom tier was like 25 times the price of that. So I pretty much gave up any hope of breaking out. I broke out. I had achieved true freedom on the Minecraft prison break server. This freedom, however, was all merely a facade, as I was trapped within the confines of the invisible barrier. Knowing I was experiencing an endless confined freedom within these walls, I cut ties with the world and expelled myself from the server, as well as the game.
And so, after a 3-month slumber, Redline returned to YouTube with a goofy Minecraft video. The fanfare was mild, as only one question was on everyone's mind. Where on earth was the strange creature Googie? The answer, which may come as a surprise, is that Googie too was sneeping. Hey there, glad you made it to the end. First off, I hit 100k a bit ago, and I just want to say thanks. So, thanks for 100k. And for everyone that's waited 3 months for this to come out, thanks for sticking around. I had some computer issues for like a month that I don't want to bore you with, which are kind of why this one took so long. It didn't actually take 3 months to make a Minecraft video. I was actually planning on doing this sort of thing myself for a while, but I got a decent number of comments and other videos saying I should do something like this, so I figured, yeah, why not?
So 1.8.9, this is probably around the version. Oh, I just got a cave noise, that was scary. This is around probably the version I was playing when I first picked up this game. Probably around, I don't know, whatever version was 2011, 2012. When did this version come out?
That would this came out in like 2014 or 15, I think. So this is a hub world, and the funny thing is nobody comes for the Survival Anarchy server. They all come to play tower defense. The tower defense.
They all come to play tower defense.
Yeah, that's what people remember the server for, which is funny. Whoa, where even are we with this? This is new to me. There, your island. This is Skyblock. Don't go in there. We don't need this.
Old school Skyblock.
This is totally not. This is not finished at all, I think.
They're still adding stuff to this server?
No. This is very inactive. It's
strange and bizarre. For example, this is just one of their videos. All of the videos on the channel are like this. The video will start off with some barcodes, with beeping noises being heard in the background. After this, a bunch of colorful shapes and different information will start appearing on the screen. It all quickly fades away, and then a bunch of shapes reappear, moving to the right, with the beeping still being heard. Something to note is that a lot of these different shapes for some reason look to be shaped as faces. The information at the start of these videos will clarify the title of the YouTube video, the length of it, I believe these numbers are how many seconds the video is, and the date of when it was uploaded. Script name is also included, however it isn't really known what this could specifically mean, due to how weird and random these videos are, and also due to just how many videos have been posted onto this channel. The main idea and theory is that these videos are generated and produced by some script of code, and would explain what the script name is seen at the start of the video. I highly doubt any sane person has created over 17,000 videos like this, obviously generated by some bot or something. There's no definitive answer on what the point of this channel is. However, a lot of people have pointed out that the channel is very similar to WebDriver Torso. WebDriver Torso is a YouTube channel that was created by Google themselves. The channel has uploaded over 600,000 different videos. All of the videos on the channel are 10 seconds long and contain these two red and blue rectangles changing sizes and moving around the screen. Many people for a while had speculated what this channel actually was, and eventually Google came out and explained this channel was made to test YouTube upload quality. So, the channel is probably something like this. Maybe made by Google, maybe not. Perhaps it was made just to simply test video quality or something, who knows. It's still very strange and interesting stuff. Notes in Teddy Bear. As I am from Australia, on Reddit I will constantly get random posts suggested to me from subreddits like r/Queensland, r/Sydney, r/Adelaide. One day I randomly got this post on my page from r/Adelaide, which was very fascinating. The post title read, read, "Notes found in a teddy bear in op shop." In case you're unaware, op shops are pretty much thrift stores. Thrift stores here in
Op shop.
Australia and I believe New Zealand are known as op shops. The user who posted this further explained that this was found in a Facebook group and thought to share it on here. A screenshot from the Facebook group was included in the post, giving further context on the whole thing. Bit of a strange one. I got this bear at Kensington Op Shop today. When I got home, I noticed it had a lot of holes in it. On further inspection, the bear had around 10 little notes stuffed inside it, all addressed to a Rose, who was moving to America. All the notes were of love and encouragement, so I would
everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Outside Chronicles, the series, of course, where we go outside the maps of Chronicles using a mod menu. Although this time I'm actually not using a mod menu. So, because of the whole issue with death barriers on Ascension, as I've discussed in the last episode on Shangri-La, we need to get a little bit more creative here and use something a bit different than the normal mod menu they were using. So I've downloaded a console enabler, and what that allows me to do is type in dev commands such as /noclip, and I believe this will allow me to escape the death barriers. Beautiful! But as you can hear, Samantha is just constantly laughing at us the entire time. Oh god, where the hell? Okay, so apparently you can sprint in this thing, so I'm gonna have to be careful about that. But let me go ahead and turn off the sound effects. Alright, so let's start with the spawn room as always. We got a window here. Doesn't look too interesting. I'm just a little corner for zombies to spawn in. Nothing too special. We got this window under the stairs here as well. And up the staircase is a whole lot of nothing. It goes right into a ceiling. That's kind of funny. But yeah, nice. Oh, there's a little door here. So I'm guessing this is where they spawn, right in this little corner. And you can see the looter lander loaded in through the wall, too. That's funny. And then upstairs, we got two windows, right? So let's start with this one right here. Nothing too much. Bunch of blood. Nice little corner to spawn. And for this one, a little bit more interesting. So there's this corner to spawn in right there. And I think they come around from back here. Oh my god, is it dark. So one more thing I want to check out before we leave the spawn room is the centrifuge itself. So I want to see, is there like anything inside of this thing? But yeah, look at this, man. There's a bunch of rings and stuff. So obviously, like, that's all the different like edges of this. You can see from the inside. And then for like the cockpit area, it's got this like, what is this thing? I mean, you can already see this from outside of it, obviously. I mean, this is where you're supposed to sit in the thing, right? So I don't know why this is here, to be honest, but it's definitely here. And not much behind it. Just a whole bunch of rust, man. This thing's been sitting here for ages. All right, going outside the spawn room door, we got a window right ahead. Let's go ahead and check this out first. Okay, this is actually kind of cool area. What is this? Not sure what that is, to be honest with you. It looks like some kind of jack, maybe. But down the stairs, just a nice little spawn area. Got some barrels here. Yeah, just some barrels, a box, and a door, too. And let's see where this goes. A door to nowhere, of course, as always. All right, let's go back on the map and see what else we got. All right, so obviously there is a lot to explore outside the map of Ascension, right? There's tons of windows scattered around the map, and we'll go through all those systematically here in a bit. But I want to start with the main attraction, right? This rocket here. We got to check this out, right? What's going on with this rocket? If we go inside of it, is there textures inside, right? And it looks like no. So there's this texture, but that's because it's exposed. There's not much going on inside of it. So the thing I want to see first, before we get to going through all the windows and all that kind of stuff, is what happens up close in personal when I turn on the power. So I'm going to turn on the power real quick. Obviously, we get light back. Beautiful. And let's see this rocket do its thing. So it slides along the tracks, and let's see it get erect. Oh my god. Now just to add some perspective here, how massive this rocket is when you get up close to it, dude. Crazy, dude. Crazy. And here's a bit of a different perspective you never get to see as well. Oh my god. It's coming right at me. Okay, so I know there's a ton outside the map here that we need to check out in just a bit. And we will. We'll get to it all. But I want to start systematically kind of going through this map like we normally do. And let's start by going this way. So we got a few things to check out. Obviously, we got this window right here. Doesn't seem to go anywhere. It's got a little staircase to nowhere. Staircase to literally a no texture area. That's kind of funny. We got a door here as well, which would lead actually directly through this wall. Kind of funny how that is. It doesn't make any sense that there's a door here actually. And we also got this area right here, the garages, right where this truck has met its demise, as well as this driver. Jeez. Oh wow, this driver doesn't have a head actually. Crazy. So anything else here in the cab? It doesn't look like it. All right, so let's check the actual garage itself. So there is a garage here, which is cool to see. All right, well, moving past that, we got this window here, obviously. A massive area to explore here. Let's actually turn off no clip. I think so. I turned on like demigod mode. Believe it or not, there is a console command called demigod, as you can see there in the top left-hand corner. Hilarious, right? But I got that on, so I think that protects me from death barriers. It doesn't seem like I'm dying, which is good. So here's the old generator here that you gotta suck in with a Gersh device. That's cool to see. So this is like the main entrance of the facility too. I never really realized that, to be honest with you. That along this road, I mean, this is the entrance. It's kind of cool. We got some trucks here. We can go inside of. Not much going on with them. What else do we have here? We got massive jet. Oh, there's actually a barrier on this thing. But not much else out here, actually. Just a massive space. You can walk on all of this, too, it looks like. Let's see how far we can go. Obviously, there's more over here, which we'll check out in a bit when we get to that part of the map. But let's just go forward here. We got a little shack out here. What's going on in the shack? Not much. Not much going on in the shack at all. But it's cool that that's there. I don't think I'd ever really noticed a shack chilling out here, but it's definitely there. Man, there's a lot of space, too, dude. Look at this. This is huge. This map is huge out here. So obviously Ascension is taken from the Black Ops 1 campaign, and I'm guessing that's probably why there's so much space out here. Yeah, there's a lot out there to explore, so we'll get to that soon. Alright, so up here on the Lunar Lander Station, let's see what we got going on. So obviously we have this window over here by, well, what used to be PhD, it is now good old Widow's Wine. Let's check out in here. Doesn't look like much, just, you know, a little spawn room as normal. All right, and we also got this window up here as well, so let's check this out too. I'm guessing it's probably going to be the same. It looks like it. We got a red phone here, which is cool. I think those are this is the same model of the phone that you can like pick up around the map. And we also have this. Okay, that actually doesn't say anything on it. I thought that was going to be something. That little piece of blue paper there, but it looks like no. And yeah, just a normal little spawn location. All right, cool enough. Let's move on. So I suppose while we're here, let's also check out what's going on up top. So let's see. Can I go ahead? Turn off no clip. There we go. Beautiful. Have a little walk around. So I've been here before, where I'm standing right now. I have 100% been here in Black Ops 1. If you guys remember, there was a Lunar Lander glitch back in the day where you could get on the side of the Lunar Lander and jump off onto platforms around the map, such as this, or like any of the buildings essentially that the Lunar Lander went over. And man, did I love doing that, dude! I did that so much before they patched it. Yeah, I remember they patched it, and then there was a workaround to the patch. As long as you had PhD, you could just still do it anyway. I always thought that was funny. And then they just added death barriers that just no matter what will kill you. But this is, you know, it's a nice perspective, man. There's definitely a lot to check out here, to be honest, man. There's so much. There's so many buildings and stuff to check out. Like, what's on top of this, too? So this is that little building outside the map here where the generator is. And, I mean, there's not, like, a ton going on with it, but it's massive. And just for a little bit of perspective, here it is from the back side, so we can see through it. It looks like... Right, so we can even see the garage even down there. There's a room right here, too. Wait a second. Wait, so, okay, so... This garage door, right? This doesn't open at any point, I don't think, right? There's no purpose of this garage door, but yet there is a modeled interior to it. Why is that modeled? I'm not sure. So this door, right, it literally leads... Yeah, so this door leads to a hallway, right? And then the garage has its own separate room here as well, separated by a wall. Really weird that that's there. It's almost like... Makes you think that there might have been some kind of plan to actually use this garage door at some point. Maybe they did in like something else, like the campaign or the multiplayer map, although obviously this platform wasn't here in the campaign or multiplayer, so that doesn't make any sense, actually. Scratch that. Man, I can already tell this is going to be a long video, so I'm going to take a sip of the coffee because, of course, I have my coffee with me here this morning. I hope wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, you're enjoying yourself, because my God, do I love myself some Ascension. This was probably one of my favorite maps back in the day.
History. Ever since 2008, players have been racing to optimize tracks further and further, and these days, almost every world record looks nearly perfect. But what was it like back in the day? How good were the world records way back in 2008 when nobody knew what they were doing? In this video, we're gonna find out. Pretty simple, we are going to be racing against these ghosts. I get 5 attempts to beat each one. I need to use the same vehicle and character they use. We have 8 ghosts to play against. And that's about it. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the easiest one. This is DK, anyway, at 201.6. And I'll show off the replay real quick, because I've already seen this, but you guys might be a little surprised here. He doesn't even do the double shortcut. Not like he doesn't do a fast double. He just doesn't do the double at all. It's just crazy. Like, I don't know, maybe they just thought the double was too hard. Or maybe they actually didn't know it was there at first. But I know it's there, so I've got the upper hand. That was really high. Lost a lot of time. But it's DK Summit, so it really doesn't matter if you lose time. You'll make it back. Okay. Okay, yeah, we're good. Alright, that was lower than last lap. That's good. Give him 2 trick. Alright. Maybe I might not even go for double lap 3. I just want to play it safe. And what's this lead? 1.2 seconds? Listen, if I do a single shortcut, I don't think we're gonna lose a second. 0.2 on this. Okay. Just not mess up anywhere. Okay, that was very bad, but you know what? It works. We beat him. We beat him by, I think, like a second. That was good. That was a 1 attempter. So that's a relief. Dude, what the heck? What happened to my what happened to my chart? For this next one, we're gonna play against P on Bowser Castle 3. This is interesting because I think this is the only shortcut that has been known about since like release date. He gets a 211, so he definitely does the shortcut at least once. I want to see how many times though. I'm gonna guess that he does it twice. Also using Rosalina. For some reason, Rosalina was pretty common back then. Not as common as Funky Kong, but like, there were plenty of Rosalina records early on. No, oh, he did do a low trick. Oh, wow. Tricked in the shortcut, okay. Again, he does 1 low trick, but he takes his time to align on that one, on that shortcut. Okay. Oh, wow. Barely survived that one. Okay, so he does do a 3 for 3 shortcut. I didn't expect that. This should be, I mean, I'm a little rusty on this track, but it shouldn't be that hard. Oh, that's another thing. You'll notice none of these old records, they never do the little adjustment wheelies before the race starts. I don't think they knew about that for a while. Like, for a long time. I don't know. I haven't seen any... I don't know if I've seen any records from 2008 at all that do that. Okay, I'm gonna just play it safe like he is and not go for all the low tricks. Okay. That was a really odd-looking shortcut, but we're caught up now. Rosalina has, like, extra drift, maybe? Or is it, like, mini turbo? She's got some stat that might have made it seem optimal. Oh. Oh, no! Oh! As crazy as it is, it's still not impossible. Now it's impossible. If we got a fast shortcut right there, we still totally could have beaten him. That was bad. Why did I not... went around the thwomp. Oh. I actually tried to get all the low tricks and I didn't. Oh my gosh, no. It It should be really easy to beat this guy. It should be. I'm not saying it will be. Clearly it hasn't. We're already on our 3rd try, but... Oh yeah. Look at that time save. No, are you freaking kidding me? Dude, this is not a hard shortcut. Why am I messing this one up? That's just infuriating. Why did he do... I don't know. Something feels off from Funky Kong, and I don't know what it is. Like, if I was using Funky Kong, I'm not just trying to make excuses here, but I think I'd be doing better. We might still even be able to beat him, though. Like, he had a really crummy lap 2 and 3. He took way too long to the line for one of his shortcuts, so... Definitely still within the realm of possibility. Now we're talking. Okay. Not out of it. Dang it. Alright. It's not over. We can still mess this up. Okay. Man. That was harder than it needed to be. Let me watch that back, actually. I think that was, like, really bad, too. Let me, here, view replay. We gotta see this. So if I'm not mistaken, this was the same run where we hit the wall in the beginning. How crazy would it be? How crazy would it be if it was 2008 and I just set this world record where I full-on hit the wall? Next up, we have Nobuo on DS Peach Gardens. Nobuo was like a legendary player back in the day. Formerly ranked #1 in the whole game. So, pretty big deal. A 204.9 on Peach Gardens is not that good, but I'm pretty rusty on Peach Gardens, so we'll see how this goes. See? Look, no adjustment wheelie. Not that you really need one here. This is a bad example, but I think they just genuinely, the 2008 players had no idea that it was even there. This is close. We should save time here in the maze, because I don't know what Nobuo is doing back there, but I'm pretty sure it's slower. Oh! Gosh. This track is way scarier than it should be. It's a garden, and there's, like, big rabid metal balls that are trying to eat you, and there's moles, and it's really a nightmare track. Not to mention Nobuo is right behind us, so... Like that, I felt like that lap 1 for the most part was really well driven, and we aren't making that much time. Dude, I messed that part up 2 times in a row. He's on our screen. Okay, this is an unnerving track. I don't think we're gonna win, but what's this first attempt gonna be? Probably, what, 205? Okay, we lost by about 0.3. Alright, well that was attempt number 1. Very improvable. If I don't mess anything up. No, dude! That's the bad part about this track. There's like nowhere I'm gonna make up any time. I'll make up a little time here, but I don't think it's even really possible for me to win this attempt anymore. On to attempt number 3. Okay. Oh. He's right behind us. Oh, he's right ahead of us. Missed MT. We could save time on this section. Oh my gosh. Come on. Yes! Let's go! Oh my gosh, that was close. Oh, barely beat him, dude. I need to go check what his time was real fast. We'll see. Yeah, no, I don't even think it was a whole .1. That's a relief, though. For our fourth track, we're going to be playing Moo Moo Meadows against Frostfuel. Frostfuel was another lots of world records back in the day, and lots of spear world records, specifically. We have a spear world record here on Moo Moo Meadows. That is what we're going to be racing against. 119.5, that's, that's not anything crazy, but driving spear on Moo Moo Meadows is pretty hard, so we'll see what happens. So like, this is a track where the alignment really just makes sense if you're using spear, because look, now I've already saved time. Not a lot. Well, there it all goes. I'm just gonna drive this out, get a little driving practice for here. It's alright. Again, this is a practice attempt. Oh, those moles, dude. My least favorite part of this track. The moles and the ramp and just about everything else. We take it inside? No. Alright, let's start attempt number 2. I think I'm ready. Fine. So be it. Point 4 behind. It's not that bad. I'm not even going for the low trick. I'm not good at it. Kind of went for it there. If we got it right there, we would have still beaten. Wait. Oh. Dude, that was so close. 119.6. That's okay though. I'll take it. For a second attempt, this is the one. Oh! Whew. So easy to hit these fences. It's always a reason to be scared. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sketchy as all can be, but we're okay. Oh, almost hit me. Okay, no! Why? Oh, I couldn't make up my mind whether I just wanted to play it safe and go off the blue ramp or if I just wanted to try going around it. Okay. Attempt number 4 then. That's so stupid. Alright, we're on our last attempt for this one. I don't think we're gonna make it. What did I tell you? I'm not surprised. 1.4 seconds behind, there is no saving this. But I'm gonna finish it anyways. Just see what possibly could. I mean, I don't know, it's technically possible. That slip drift was horrible, okay. It's just getting worse. Take the blue ramp, why not? Alright, yeah, no. We miss it twice, we're done. Honestly, man, Frostfuel is ahead of his time anyways. He was really good, so. If I'm gonna lose to any of these, I don't mind losing to him. Alright, next up we have Dope Ride on DS Desert Hills. Now this one, I've watched it several times, but I'll show it off just because I'm sure most of you haven't seen it. A couple special things about this record though. Number 1, this is the first record ever recorded on this track in this game. A lot of these aren't the first record, technically there were some before them, but the ghost files have been lost, or evidence of the record is gone. This guy is the first record, and the ghost just happens to be available, which is awesome. Another special thing, you'll notice he's using Wario. This is the only world record to date that Wario has ever held. Hopefully that changes someday. I'd like to see some more Wario records. But it lasted like, I don't know, a couple days maybe. And since then, Wario has not held a single world record. And lastly, he's using the Flame Flyer. I think just in the first month or so of the game, people thought carts were a lot better than they were. Because carts had world records all over the place. I mean, here, Wario's Gold Mine, Ghost Valley 2, there was a lot of kart tracks. I want to point out his shroom strat. You might notice he's not doing the sand hop, so here he goes. And 1 mushroom, 2 mushrooms, 3 mushrooms. all at once, basically, on lap 3. I'm thinking I'm going to be going for the sand hop all 3 laps, because, I mean, that's all it's going to take. No, I've already lost time. Oh! Barely got the super mini turbo there. I panicked, okay? I didn't know what to do. Oh my gosh. We cleared it. We made it over. It's all for nothing. It doesn't matter. There we go. Got a lead. Oh my. Okay, we're alive. This is so hard to predict for me. I don't know, because he's going to use all 3 shrooms this lap. Even if I do get the sand hop, he could still win. I'm screwed. It ain't over. It ain't over. Oh, did you see that though? I touched the out of bounds. That was cool. No, dude, such a stupid mistake. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're fine. 0.7 ahead. That's kind of hefty. It's a hefty lead. I don't know though. I don't know if his shroom strat is actually. What if it's faster? What if his shroom strat is faster than the three sand hops with the cart? I didn't even think of that. Oh, we actually went inside on the pokey there. That's what he does. Finally, we're playing at world record level. Okay, 2-second lead. Okay. No, 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 please, no, no. We get one more attempt. Look at those laps. 34.6, 34.2, and then a 38. I wonder what happened. We're just gonna do his shroom strat lap 1. Now we actually have to outplay him though. Yeah, we're done, dude. Alright. We lost the dope ride. Honestly, I'm not the best kart player on Desert Hills. Anyways, I mean, if you couldn't tell. Next up, we have Unreal. Unreal on DS Delfino Square. Unreal was another player who had a bunch of world records back in 2008. Anyway, he's got a 209.7. I mean, that won't be easy to beat, but it definitely won't be impossible to be honest. We're going. We're already behind. I'll just drive this for practice, it's okay. We've got 4 more attempts. Alright, 0.4. Not a bad lead. Okay. Let's go, dude. We beat 4 of them. That was the goal in the beginning, was to just beat 4, and we did it. And that just means, I guess, let's see if we can beat any more. Next up, we have this guy on Mushroom Gorge. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry, I don't read Japanese. His Mii does look a little bit like Professor Oak, though. Anyway, a 147.023. That just looks so weird. Whatever he did right there, it was like a wheelie into an immediate like slip drift. Tricks on all these mushroom pads. Forgot about this. So he tricks on all the mushrooms. I guess people just thought that was faster time. For anybody who doesn't know, it is not faster, it is slower. Maybe that's why he doesn't wheelie. Okay, it's fine. It's only attempt number 2. We can still catch up too. I think just skipping the mushroom up here. If we did it right, it would have caught us up, but didn't do it right. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I even did the spin drift. Why did it? Man. Alright, well, that's fine. Oh my gosh! Am I on 100 CC? What am I missing here? Let me get my head in the game. Dude, that was the worst gap jump. I just, whatever. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Alright, I gotta go for the fast new method. Oh! Almost made it over. It wouldn't have PB'd it. I wouldn't beat him anyways, but it would have been closer. Again with these just ugly gap jumps. It's not like it's not gonna, you know, I mean it works fine. It just didn't look good. Way too early a shroom, but again, it worked okay. I made it over. Let's go! Attempt number 5. I did not expect that to happen at all. Dude, I was sure we were gonna lose that one. Oh my gosh. Not a great time by any means, but who cares, dude? I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Okay, folks, we have one last ghost, Alvin. Alvin on N64 Bowser's Castle. A 235 with Funky Kong. I think I have a 235 with Daisy, so I mean, this is gonna be tough, but not undoable. Oh yeah, check out his shrimp strap, by the way. Look where he's gonna use his mushroom. Cuts across this grass in the beginning. It's weird. I'm gonna do the newer grass shortcut this time, but like, see, I still lost a bunch of time. I think I'll just go for the old one. Because then I'll be on the same, like, womp patterns as him, too. Yeah, he takes the other ramp, too. It's weird. I mean, you'd think the other ramp would be faster. You get another trick boost, but nope. At this point, this is basically just a practice attempt. I see no way we possibly catch up to him. Okay, what was that? What was that? What was that? We do the Alvin shroom right here. This is just one of those tracks where you can lose tons of time and have no idea where. I don't like that. Like if it's Luigi's Circuit, you lose time. It's like, oh, I messed up the shortcut, or I turned in my wheelie a little bit. On this track, you lose time just because the game wants you to, it feels like. That one was my fault. Alvin's gonna have to mess up big time, and we're gonna have to do something great if we want to be able to beat him. Alright, you know what, we're finally caught up! I don't know. I mean, is it impossible? Maybe not. Yeah, now it's impossible. I'm gonna just go with the newer grass cut. I say new. I think people have been doing it since like 2009. I'm not cutting enough off when I do it. If I cut a little more off, it would definitely be worth it. Okay. 0.3 behind. But who knows, like, you can just get bounces and stuff on this track, on the bridge and all that. So he might, maybe he'll get some and that'll help us out. We do shroom cut right here. Now we're still behind. Alright, well we can at least see, I mean, I'll probably finish this one. It's definitely not going to be him. I don't even see him on my screen anymore. Okay, he's right there. He's not that far behind. Nah, that's like a second, probably. We're probably losing by a whole second. 237.0. Okay. I mean, it's something. Alright, we get one more attempt. I have to use 2. And I'm still behind. Uh-oh. It seems just about impossible that we beat Alvin, but it's not totally impossible. It could theoretically happen. With just the right driving. Just the right Thwomp cycles. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We turned up with a score of 5 out of 8. Way better than I was expecting. I was hoping for 4 as my goal, but realistically, I would have been okay with 3. So with that, I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.
My childhood dream of playing Minecraft on the Wii has now become possible. The Wii has always been one of my favorite consoles. It's home to so many brilliant games. Mario Galaxy, Wii Sports Resort, Skyward Sword, Mario Kart, Smash Bros. Metroid Prime, Kirby's Xenoblade Chronicles, Super Mario Kart, Animal Crossing City Folk, Twilight Princess. However, one of the great games missing from this console is Minecraft.
Till now.
Thanks to the hard work of Bytebit, there's now a way to play Minecraft on the Nintendo Wii, and it's incredible. Bytebit remade the game from the ground up, basing it on the 1.7.3 beta version. And in the most recent update, you're able to play survival mode. A couple of months ago, you could only fly around in this project and place a few blocks that were in your inventory, but now you can mine, you can build, you can craft. It pretty much feels like an official port of the game. But what's even more amazing is that you're able to take a world that you have on Minecraft Java Edition and load it up to your Wii and play it there. I have no clue how this is even possible, but later in the video I will try and get that to work and see what worlds we can import from Java Edition. Alright, I'm loading it up now. Also, I'll leave Bytebit's YouTube link in the description if you want to find out a bit more about the project. So to play this, you need the Homebrew browser on your Nintendo Wii or on an emulator. This is basically how you mod your Wii or play emulated games and projects like this. I have not played this yet. I've seen videos on it, but I wanted to save my first experience for the video. We're about to find out what it's like and how it plays. Not everything is exactly the same as the actual Minecraft game, which is perfectly understandable. Minecraft Java was not built for the Wii to run, so the fact that this even works at all is pretty mind-blowing. I can't comprehend how hard this must have been. Seriously, it's crazy. So the Homebrew browser is where I downloaded the game from, and then here's CaveX. That is the name of this port. So it's beta 1.7.3 for the Wii. I'm really excited to go on this. We've got it. We've got it working. And look, they have the Seed Glacier pre-installed into the game. This is a famous seed from way back. When beta 1.7.3 was out, they had the different terrain generation. The terrain generation would be a lot more exciting, much more verticality like giant cliffs and mountains and all of the biomes. Whether you're in the desert or the plains, you would get crazy looking places, and Glacier was one of the famous ones because of how beautiful the natural generation of the world was. And then I think World is just a random seed. But I want to go into Glacier actually, because I know that's really cool. So this is my first time playing. Ooh. Oh wow. The controls are weird for me right now. I'm sure a lot of you will recognize this. Loads of people used to know about this seed. I've seen it in quite a few videos of like the top 10 most famous Minecraft seeds. But I was just looking around and feeling how smooth this is. It feels perfect. It's 60 FPS. There's no frame drops anywhere. And this runs on Nintendo Wii. How old is it? Is the Wii 16 years old now? 17 years old? I'm not sure. I'm thinking about that now and I can't believe how old this is. I'm going to swap these controls quickly. Let's go do the first thing you're meant to do in Minecraft. We'll chop some wood. What are the controls? Okay. Chopping. Oh my god, I missed. I'm using the Dolphin emulator at the moment, so I'm using an Xbox 360 controller. And the way I've set up the controls is not normal. Open inventory. Look, they have the menu here. So you can craft things. You should be able to... Yeah, I've seen this on the video. So how do we... Oh!
teamwork versus going solo. There still is a dedicated community surrounding gameplay. Delta Force has a great variety.
So he's in 30 Wilderness. He has Ancestral, Staff of Light, Arcane. The guy's in Aharim. He could easily catch a freeze here, right? So he has his Hasta and his tank gear on instead of wearing Armadillo. What means what? That means the spider's gonna pop up that web and he's slowly gonna keep getting smited here. Very bad play that he did here. Wasted about 70 player points, getting hit a lot of damage for no reason. Possibly could have died if guy hit a 70 there. Runs out of running energy, drinks his stamina. Gets refrozen because his stats are brewed down. That's fine. Here he should probably just wear Torva legs, right? He still has Ferocious gloves on, by the way, here. You never want to bring Ferocious gloves. You want to bring Barrel's gloves because they're good in every single style. He tries to freeze with Ferocious gloves in a Hasta. Of course he's not going to catch it. He has full Armadillo on, getting almost every single prayer wrong. Gets hit off prayer almost every single time. Goes for a Baraga on the Black D'hide guy that's not even attacking him. But Barags with a Semiraki and Hasta still. And then of course he's going to get refrozen because he only has 69 mage. He gets bolted on robes off prayer. Gets hit on robes again. He brews again, right? Does protect mage. Brews again. He's going to restore here. He's going to get bolted on robes here. Probably should do some damage. He's going to go for a Baraga with a Hasta and Ferocious gloves. He splashes. Another Baraga. Nope. He actually managed to Hasta hit. Another Baraga. Splashes. He still has Hasta on. He's shaking so bad to the point where he can't even catch a freeze. He's doing protect range now. He's brewing up. He gets hit at OGS and it's a 75 max hit. He's gonna go for the freeze here. Does he manage to catch it? He does. So he does catch a freeze here at the perfect time. And then he clicks there, right? And then he clicks there. Look how bad that he's shaking, by the way. Look how delayed he is. And then he moves on his own and then hits the guy before logging off when he could have logged off there. So then he goes and starts Hasta-ing him 3 times. He starts shaking even more because he knows he fucked up. Tries to freeze him, but the guy is now unfrozen because of the last freeze. Brews up, gets bolted on robes there. Where's Armadillo to try to tank the mage hit? Honestly, yeah, that was a good move. A bolt on robes, not very likely, and a 51 smack on robes off player is likely. So he tries to DD under the guy, even though the guy's not even frozen, by the way, just so we can specify that. Didn't even try to catch a freeze on him to DD under him and gets refrozen. Has his robe still on and getting bolted. Does protect mage. Brews up. Goes for a Baraga here. Does he catch it? Splashes. Gets hit 34 bolts. Goes for a Baraga here. Splashes again. He still has the Samurai Costa on, not the Staff of Light. And then he gets hit a 7 there. Yeah. An OGS spec, a 13er. And he's just going to keep brewing up here slowly but surely. He's going to go for the Baraga. Does he catch it? He does not. The guy has double carryals on. He goes for a Baraga with the Hasta again. Splashes. Goes for another Baraga here. Splashes again. And, yeah, goes for another Baraga here. Splashes again. I mean, he does have Hasta, Ferocious Gloves, Primordials on, Fury, Noah Colt. Right? So it's not very surprising that he's splashing. Okay? Maybe it was a little bit unlucky, but like I said, he has no mage weapon on at all. He's out of luck, gentlemen. He's out of luck. He has a Hasta, by the way, and a Hasta spec could actually do what? Does anybody know? It could actually stun the opponent. Okay, okay, now he just caught a Baraga there, right? Did you guys see that? Caught a Baraga. And moves early for no reason. And then goes back to the same spot, and then DDs. And then goes. And then goes, and then he escaped. Now he can just log off here. But he moved on his own and got hit again. What the fuck did we just watch? This is the end of him. Chat, what was that? Even with all his mistakes, he still could have escaped there, but decided that he's gonna fuck up again. And he was like rank 45 hardcore. Yeah, I want you guys all to know that. Rank 45 hardcore.
Can you hear me?
Oh, dude, this hack is crazy. 6 seconds. You can just go straight on through the wall if you want. This Mario Kart hack makes every track extremely glitchy. Let's have some fun with it. Alright, so this hack is called Mario Kart Wii Ultra Shortcut Edition. Basically, it makes the game way glitchier. For example, like right here, Luigi Circuit, we all know, this ramp, simple. You do a trick, you're back on the road, you can finish the lap like a normal person. Or, if you're using this hack, you can simply just do that, and then do this here. There we go, get our lap count. 113. That's a 7-second lap. A 7-second lap on the Ouija circuit. So Moo Moo Meadows. I'm thinking we got a couple ramps to work with. So here we go. Just do that. Oh. Does that count? Okay, let me try and find a more efficient one. Where's the barn? I want to see if I can go all the way over to the barn. That'd be cool. Alright, we've done it. We are in the barn. The Lakitu can't hurt us. Oh no. Dude, this hack is crazy. 6 seconds. 6 seconds. It would probably be easiest to just use the ramp. Or I wonder if I could just use one of these. Yeah, okay. Over here. And come back around. No. Oh, I didn't get the lap count. What? Hold on a second. So people can just drive in. You don't even have to use the ramp. You can just go straight on through the wall if you want on this track. Now if I drive straight back all the way to where the shortcut is with the lake, and then I come over here and back forward. That's a lap. Okay. I should be able to that's pretty cool, right? Why is this off-road though? I mean, can't you usually can't even get up here. Alright, maybe just come up here. We're definitely pretty far out of bounds. Oh, hold on. Come on. Okay, we're up here. That's bad. Wait. Is this the ultra shortcut we've been looking for? Alright, we got it. What lots of people don't know is there's actually a secret where if you're on this track,
Our Wi-Fi works in every room, even the basement. Creepy down there, but true. Does this help? No, that actually makes it way worse.
Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with Xfinity. Let's make some shopping.
What are we waiting for?
In Edgewood is outraged at Microsoft Xbox Live for labeling her son a cheater and taking away everything he's earned online.
He got online and it says cheater under his gamer tag, and they wiped out every achievement from every game he's ever owned.
They steal all my achievements. Thank God that it took me like 200 days.
Some of you may actually remember hearing about this story. I remember hearing about this one on my local news, surprisingly, back in the day. There was an autistic kid living in Seattle who was a huge fan of Xbox Live and playing online multiplayer games. However, outrage came when Xbox decided to update the kid's profile to label him as a cheater. This actually led the kid to become pretty upset, and his mother ended up reaching out to Xbox and the local news station, and Q13 Fox jumped on the story to kind of try to get to the the bottom of what was going on here. Now, if you guys remember back in the Xbox Live days, over in your profile, there was like this little section where you would be able to choose what you identified as your gaming style. Like you say you're pro or underground or something like that, whatever you felt like you wanted to label yourself as. There were a couple of different options, but if Xbox found that you were cheating, they would go ahead and update that option and change it to cheater, and there was nothing you could essentially do about it. Now, Q13 Fox, they looked into this. The mother insisted that her son was not cheating, but was, quote, very gifted at gaming. She pointed out that he plays more than the average person, so he's very skilled because of it, and by Xbox Live labeling him as a cheater, it was cutting off essentially one of his only social outlets. So this news ended up getting picked up, Kotaku covered it, and they actually reached out to Xbox Live directly, and Xbox responded saying that gamerscore resets are done when cheating is detected to keep live fun, fair, and safe for everyone. We only do it when we are 100% confident that cheating has occurred, and they are not something that can be appealed. Details can be found here. What an interesting response from Microsoft. Actually, going a step further, back on Twitter, back when Twitter was a thing, Stephen Toulouse, who was the director of policy and enforcement for Xbox Live, actually tweeted about this specific incident, saying that they confirmed that they were cheated achievements and they gave the parent details, and then he also verified that this wasn't a he played too good situation at all. Okay, so then the mother, who nowadays no longer has a Twitter account, but back in the day did go on Twitter, upon finding more information out about what exactly caused the ban, did decide to clear the air with the new information she had acquired, but it seemed like somehow someone gained access to the kid's account. Likely her kid gave access to her account to someone who knew how to do this, but someone went in and hacked multiple achievements onto the Xbox Live account in question. This was because back in the old Halo 3 days, if you got 7 of the most challenging achievements across 2 different Halo games, you could redeem the Recon armor in Halo 3. This was like a really big deal. Recon armor was like the most sought after armor. It was the biggest achievement, and after ODST came out in 2009, anyone who went and got the 7 Vidmaster achievements done would be able to claim the Recon armor. But since he wasn't doing the achievements or couldn't do the achievements, someone decided to hack the achievements onto his account for him, which then resulted in Microsoft flagging the cheating and him getting the name cheater on his account. Honestly, getting the label cheater really wasn't that big of a deal back in the day, other than it being on your profile. It still was way better than the console ban a lot of players ended up getting back in the day for having J-tagged Xboxes or other forms of cheating being caught, where people straight up would get a ban that didn't expire until December 31st, 9,999. This ban was a little bit more blanket, and a lot of people got it, especially in the Modern Warfare 2 days when J-tagging Xboxes was becoming very, very prominent, and they were trying to put a stop to those hacking methods back then. So yeah, these bans were pretty harsh and pretty strong, but they were given out. So getting the little cheater tag is more of a relic from the older Xbox Live days when things were a little bit more lax before they really had to buckle down in the competitive scene to keep multiplayer games alive. Xbox definitely didn't want their online cheater scene to be as bad as the PlayStation 3 had it back in these days. Also, just a quick side note, I feel like this is the dirtiest controller I've seen. This is, I don't know, the controller that they zoomed in on, just yikes. There was also that time, it was absolutely crazy, some of you might remember this, when H1Z1 players, do you guys remember that Dead Battle Royale game, would get banned for cheating, and essentially, I don't know, the studio decided to have some fun with it and said that if you wanted to have a chance to have your account unbanned after you're caught cheating, you had to upload an apology video of yourself admitting to cheating and asking for forgiveness. What on earth is this approach? Well, surprisingly enough, a ton of people who got banned for cheating came forward and actually uploaded videos hoping and praying that they would get their H1Z1 account back after they were caught cheating. They would apologize, they would swear to never cheat again, and that usually was the end of the story. I actually don't think too many players actually ever got their accounts back after they were caught cheating, so I don't know if that was like just a meme on the cheaters and add some salt in the wound, but you know what? Being on the receiving side of someone who like blatantly cheats in a multiplayer game, like it's never fun. It really just can ruin a game for you. I mean, it's ruined Rainbow Six for me multiple times. It's ruined games like PUBG. So sometimes it's fun to see these people squirm a bit when they finally do get caught. Fall Guys, on the other hand, had a really big cheating problem, surprisingly. I mean, who really needs to cheat in Fall Guys? I don't know. It's probably like the guy I have in my Duolingo leaderboard who I think has been cheating for a while. You just don't understand why people need to cheat in games like this, but nonetheless, Fall Guys had a really big cheating problem for a while. Now, there's limited footage of this, but I guess for a little while when the main way that people were cheating was finally detected, the team at Fall Guys decided to have some fun with it and implemented a cheater island mode, and essentially grouped all of the players together who were using the cheats that were now detectable by whatever implementations the Fall Guys team were able to add in, and it would put them in a game all together that at the end of the race where you would win everything, it would just grab everyone and put them in like a little vortex just inches away from the crown, making it incredibly hard to escape. So even though everyone could just like go straight to the end, they were all stuck, and then like sometimes someone would break out and the match would end. But it definitely led to an even more random and less fun experience, especially being paired with other cheaters, not being able to beat like real players, and then also like the game being broken to the point where like it was just random who would end up winning. Kind of ruined the game for a lot of those cheaters, and I hope that maybe kept them away. I doubt it, but I feel like cheats are at least less common than they were at the peak of Fall Guys when there were cheaters literally everywhere. I still see some people that I think are a little sus with how fast they move, but it definitely wasn't like people just flying straight to the end like it was in the earlier days of Fall Guys.
In 2017, Epic Games decided to take a bunch of cheaters to court over copyright infringement for their game Fortnite. Now, while there's a lot of specifics on a lot of these cases, there's one case that caught the public